Only cup that matters is right here, baby. That's right.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rivals 2022 World Championship Tournament. I've got with me here today Jeffrey, as always, my valiant co-host. Say hello, Jeffrey.
Hello, everybody. How you doing?
And special guest star, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Gizarius, down below, in between the scores, where he belongs.
Hello, boys and girls. Welcome. Welcome.
Of course, I do want to say a massive thank you as we start out to Gizarius, who made all of this possible with a very generous donation. We have an entire prize pool. We've, of course, put together these amazing graphics from Viper. Kenny in the background doing the admin, only messing up one simple timer.
Yeah. There's always going to be one thing, right?
There's always some problem. That is a large part of the reason we decided to start late today, by the way, chat.
Yeah.
Some people thought the tournament was starting half an hour from now, so we decided to sort of meet in the middle, give people a chance to show up. All of the posters do say 6 p.m., so unless they were relying exactly on the timer, hopefully most people will be ready to go here. But, of course, that timer is inaccurate very slightly.
With the major event like this, sometimes confusion happens. You know, it's too big. Absolutely. It's too big not to be there. Some confusion sometimes. So this is all right. This is okay. I am expecting absolutely insane games tonight. Insane participants, insane followers, everything. The whole experience today is going to be absolutely amazing. Get ready.
I'm really hoping that we see some fantastic games today. We have a lot of participants. We got a lot of big names in this one.
We do.
In fact, now might be a good time for us to take a look at the bracket scene. The bracket scene that was heavily requested by Kenny. So let's move over to this bracket scene. Let's take a little look at this bracket. Let's see what we've got going on here. So as you can see, we currently have 67 players. Pretty respectable number. We are today hoping, our goal is to break the viewer record. That's really what we're going for. I see that we are just starting out and we're already over 30, so it's looking good. Ideally, we're looking to hit, I don't actually know what the record is, probably somewhere in the hundreds.
200 something, I think, probably.
Yeah, that sounds accurate. So let's take a look at some of these names. Of course, seed number 1, we do have It's Your Boy Quasar / Taran up at the top there. No real surprises. Quasar, of course, has been absolutely dominating lately. Really kind of just been dominating absolutely everyone he plays against. So yeah, we've got Quasar up there. We've got some other big names in here. We see everybody's fan favorite Watershed. If we don't see some big Jade missiles from him, I'm be very disappointed. We've got Paplagon 2 down here, one of the all-stars of the Wolfpack team. We've got Hawkinator. Everybody's talking the big game about Hawkinator. Hawkinator, this is the guy who recently has been the new Agent Shadow. Obviously, we've had a lot of new Agent Shadows, but Hawkinator is our current reigning new Agent Shadow.
Wow. Big accolades. Love it.
We've got Serpus. Of course, Serpus, the Rivals god, self-proclaimed. Serpus has been consistently a top player for about as long as I can remember him being in the game. This guy has been
Serpus
consistently
is the best
very good
in this game, isn't he?
He's got excellent fundamentals, I would say. Like the basic way to play Rivals, Serpus understands it and does it very well. Like, and I don't mean an insult by basic. I mean like the actual how you are supposed to play Rivals. Serpus does it extremely well. Now, of course, Serpus is a strong candidate for maybe best player in the game of all time. However, we do also see down here Alicia Destiny, who is strongly considered to be the best player of all time in Command & Conquer Rivals. So Alicia Destiny just has much more tournament pedigree than Serpus. Serpus does not have as many first place finishes. So
yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's hard to... I mean, if he wins this one, though, if Surpus takes this one down, we could be looking at really a contender for best of all time. I really think so. Because this is a major tournament. We've got pretty much everyone still in the game. Even Lepak has come back for this one.
Right?
I think, did I see Victor in here? Victor Bansom is back. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Suzaku signing up for this tournament.
Oh, that'd be hype. I would love to see that.
I see Keeper as well. A lot of big names. A lot of big names in this one.
For this one.
I really feel like this is a really good chance for Surpus to show his pedigree. Honestly, I think that if Surpus wins this one, he also has a lot of tournament wins under his belt. At some point, someone should go back and check like all the tournament results and work out if Surpus actually has overtaken Alicia, because there's a possibility. I think that if Quasar hadn't shown up and started beating everyone, then,
no doubt.
Then I feel like Surpus would have definitely hit the all-time record now. But Quasar has been dominating lately, so it's tough breaks. It's tough breaks, man.
Yep. No kidding.
Well, definitely we're gonna see some excellent games today. I mean, you boys buckle up and just get ready to see some absolutely insane games. Maybe get your notepad out and see how the pros do it.
Okay,
Wise words
so
from Gazarius. I love it.
Our first match appears to be, if I'm reading this right, we have Dropcell versus Gesisi. Now, is one of these players? One of these players, I believe, is Oaken. So, prepare your hype.
All right.
Prepare your hype, chat. We have Oaken. Ooh. Oh, sorry, apologies, wrong scene there. Here we go. Back on the desk. We have Oaken today, playing in the tournament. So Oaken has not only joined Discord, but has immediately signed up to this tournament. I am very excited to see some Oaken gameplay.
Yeah, me too. How can you not
be? I'm down, man. I'm pretty hyped for this. So we're gonna have Dropcell taking on Oaken in the first match. We are waiting on both the players to join. We have all the casting team. We have Kenny really just holding out for those players. As you can see at the bottom, we have loser 0 versus winner 1.
So you know, Chet, the way it's gonna go tonight is Jeffrey and Blade are gonna cast the games. I'm gonna be behind the scenes for the games, and in the intermissions we'll come back and discuss the games, so we don't overload you with information and everything. So that's how it's gonna go.
Alright, let's do it. Let's go again. Mihawk versus Berserk. They've swapped sides this time. We are still seeing two Solimans though. Game has loaded. Looks like both players are in. Finally, we're underway. Apologies, chat, for this delay, but here we go.
Let's go.
Berserk, Mihawk, Solomon Mirror. We've got Dog opening on both sides. I'm seeing Pitbull from both players. Shocks versus Snipers is very interesting. This is going to be the defining matchup of the game, I believe. It'll be the Snipers versus the Shocks. There is no other clear winner in these decks. That is it. Snipers versus Shocks is going to dictate who wins this game. If the Snipers can get a foothold, they get into the middle of the map, and take out those Shocks repeatedly, then Mihawk is going to win this game. If Berserk can shut down those Snipers, then I believe that Berserk is going to win this game.
So Mihawk starting off here with two dogs, got a Pitbull on the bottom there, chasing the dogs away, and Berserk here going right into his barracks, getting the missiles coming out here. You got the snipers coming in from behind, though. Mihawk saving up just enough money, and just as Blade pointed out, once it gets onto the middle part of the pads there, it's going to be very difficult to unlaunch. So here we go, missile number 1 coming to Mihawk, and all right, nice block with the snipers on those dogs as well.
All right, so there it is. Berserk does lose that first missile. Those snipers, of course, now getting into position, into the middle. This is going to get very difficult for Berserk here.
The time with the 2 matches versus Lepatka, we're fine.
Apologies, chat. I didn't realize that we had an alert box. I'll cancel that. That's gone now. Last time we're hearing that. So there it is. Orca comes out from Berserk. Is this Orca going to be enough, Jeffrey? Do we think this is going to change the tide of this game?
Well, Orca is very important, right? Because Orca deals with the pit bulls very effectively, but then there's Slingshot from Mihawk. So, but here comes the first Ion Cannon. Really does almost, actually did nothing, I think. I'm not sure what the point of that was. He was trying to block oncoming units. But speaking of that, we got the shocks coming in there. And of course, with the shocks, the pit bull and the missiles on the left. I mean, that's just an easy missile there for Mihawk.
And there it is. So that's going to be it. The first game under our belt here. Mihawk, 2 missiles to 0. And what do we think we're going to see from his opponent, Berserk, who I lost that first game? This is what we're seeing, Jade. Jade, you guys know my feelings on Jade. I think Jade is one of the worst commanders in the game. And we see Berserk here, he's got quite a good deck for this map, actually. You guys were both right. Mihawk did bring Inferno. He's brought the Phantom version rather than the Stealth Tank version, which I think is slightly worse on this map. I personally prefer the Phantom version for this map. Oh, sorry, Stealth Tank version for this map, but it's a very minor difference. Berserk, however,
oh my God, it's Scavengers.
Yeah, he's brought Scavenger Giga Chuggy, which is a great choice for the map, except that he's playing Jade instead of Oksana. Now, if you're playing Giga Cannon, you guys all know Giga Cannon is pretty busted. The only thing that makes Giga Cannon stronger and makes it really break the meta is that Oksana boost. So for me personally, I think this is a pretty big error to bring Jade. If you're going to play Jade, you really want to be playing Chem Warriors instead of Chem Chuggy as well. So I'm not a fan of this Jade. The rest of the deck I think is quite good though.
I agree. Like, Giga's a good choice against Inferno because it can lock out the early game, which pushes the Inferno back and potentially means Inferno doesn't get out in time. But yeah, without Oksana, the Giga's just not entirely busted. Like, see, it's going to get here onto the middle of the map, but so much time has passed that Mihawk's got his first Inferno coming out. It's going to onto that middle pattern that Chembuggy's such low hit points, he's going to take a shot, but actually decides to target the Scavengers instead. Actually, a pretty good target there, as that Chembuggy's going to go down to those attack bikes, and, well, the Jade Missile is going to hit nothing. Oh, wow. Unfortunate.
Yeah, and of course that Inferno there gets the bomb off. The Scavengers don't quite get out of the way. He gets both Scavenger squads. That Inferno was also incredibly quick in this game.
That Blade has online, which says, "That was a good Jade Missile, bro."
That was the classic nice Jade Missile, bro, right there. The Jade Missile hits absolutely nothing. Another double kill there from Mihawk. It's looking pretty tough for Berserk here, and he's also playing the Stealth Tank over the Phantom. I think with a Giga Cannon deck, you pretty much always want to be on the Phantom.
So we see he's trying to sneak around the back with the Stealth Tank, and we're coming close to the second missile, and it's not sure what he's going to do with it. He's going to try to get that Inferno before it reloads, but unfortunate as he moved it down at the same time, and well, Mihawk with 3 Infernos out on the field takes it down 2-0.
All right, well, we do have both players in the game. We do have all of the team. So I believe we are ready to get underway. Here we go. Match number 2 of the World Championships. Bamble taking on CFS.
3, 2, 1. New objective received.
Ooh, interesting deck choices. We got Bamble playing a Slingshot Razorback Orchid deck with Predator. Of course, using Jackson, which makes a lot of sense. And then we got Mutant Chuggy on the other side.
Yeah, of course, the Mutant Chuggy can be a little bit weak to Razorback. That's one of the better answers for Mutant Chuggy. However, that Phantom is going to completely shut down the Razorback. So, obviously, I think if the game is short, Bamble is favored. If CFS can get out Mutant Chuggy combo with a Phantom backup, then he's probably in good shape.
Yeah, and I guess like the Orca could be a bit of an issue, but like you said, once the Phantom comes out, that should pretty much dominate everything. And well, speaking of that, so far Bamble getting the early map advantage with his militants, Rifleman. He's coming up on the left as well, so he's going to be able to beat these two. And now we got the both tech switching into their anti-infantry specialists. Chuggy, of course, from CFS, and then Razorback from Bamble. Of course, in terms of favoritism, it looks like Bamble might come out a little bit ahead just because it's got Raider and Flying and a little bit more hit points, but Chembuggy's going to melt through those missiles. An unfortunate tech switch there for Bamble is definitely going to mean that he loses this first missile.
Yeah, and there it is. This is what I was talking about. Once that Chuggy comes out, it's very difficult to handle that. Bamble losing this first missile is very, very bad for him, I would say. Of course, I believe that in this metagame, you're likely expecting the Nod player to win most of the time. So, of course, once CFS wins, we'll probably see a Nod versus GDI the other way around. But, I mean, yeah, if CFS can get that Phantom out, and he's got that air tower, that's when things are going to get tough, really tough for Bamble.
and right now you see him trying to get some value out of this Razorback. These mutants here proving to be a bit of an issue against these Predator tanks. Really just not able to get at them very quickly with these attack bikes, causing a lot of havoc. And CFS here looking quite comfortable with both pads taken up. He's got lasers on the top, which of course the Predator tank's not going to chew through, and neither is that Razorback. So, well, that's going to be 2 missiles for CFS.
He was he was doing a pretty good job at protecting that Razorback, but when he needed it the most to be on the front lines, he did not push enough. That's why the second missile was lost.
Yep.
I think we're ready to go into the next match.
All right, so next game we're going to have CFS versus Bamble. I've got to say very quickly, I'm a little surprised. I thought, Bamble's a very good player. I really would have put my money on Bamble going into that one, and he got crushed. To be fair, it was like a matchup crushing, but he got pretty slapped. So.
Yeah, I don't know if I put it exactly like that, but yeah, I have to agree with you. I think between the two of them, Bamble got smacked around a little bit. Unfortunate, because I agree with you. Bamble's a very good player. He's well seasoned in terms of tournament play. Like, he plays in RTL, plays in Alliance Wars. I'm sure he's competed in other tournaments with Wolfpack, because he is in Wolfpack. So yeah, I gotta say, I'm a little surprised by that. But you know what? This is game number 2, and looking at the decks here, Bamble, of course, he can play either faction. CFS is forced to play GDIs. He did win with Nod. So here we see him playing a Shock Pitbull Orca deck, which is a bit weak to this Chuggy Scorp deck, I gotta say.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we expected to see a Nod. We expect to see Nod versus GDI flipped on this one, and usually the Nod player is going to be favored. CFS, sorry, we're going into the fight of the missile, Jeffrey, so if you want to take over.
No, that's all right. Well, and yeah, as you saw there, of course, with the fast-moving bikes, the lasers, and CFS not really getting into his shocks quickly enough, that was going to be Bamble's missile, which is, of course, an important distinction from the first game.
Please pay attention to Bumbleification Alliance name.
Oh yeah, I love that. Let's go, Giza. Exactly.
Let's go.
Absolutely.
Must be nice. Must be nice to be so famous that you get an entire alliance name based around you.
Yeah, only Giza, man.
So as I was saying, yeah, the Nod player is generally favored. This GDI deck that we see from CFS, it's sort of like the modern version of Reb Solomon. But I think Reb Solomon has not been strong for a pretty long time. And this feels like just a worse version of a deck that hasn't been good for a while. I don't really think Orca beats Chuggy Laser. We've talked about this a lot. I just don't see it. I don't see how it wins.
All right, so that Orca unloads on the Chuggy, removing it from the field. Bamble now with enough money to get that Phantom, but hard to say if it's going to be quite enough. The lasers will win the dog, so it looks like we're going to see a bit of a flip here. Phantom just needs to stop that Talon, although not really going to matter too much because it does have the lasers on the bottom pads. So there it is. Bamble making a comeback here with 2 missiles to 0.
Let's toast the next match, so we don't keep.
Sure, we can get into game number 3. We can discuss the most broken units later.
Yeah, for sure. All right, here we go. Game number 3, and well, exciting, of course. You like to see these series go all the way to the maximum number of games, because that means it's been a pretty close series. So, of course, having both sides won their Nod decks, they're now going to have to win with GDI. And taking a look at the answers here, we got APC, both playing Solomon, first of all, but one side's got APC, one side's got Pitbull, and then, of course, Shocks versus Militants. So, kind of interesting between the two of them. I think the APC, though, probably has a decent advantage here. What do you think, Blade?
So if we take a look at these decks quickly, they're very similar. Again, we see CFS with this same Orca deck. It's going to be slightly better against GDI, but it is still really relying on air quite heavily, which isn't where you want to be in a GDI mirror. I have to agree with you. Like, Bamble is going to make APCs, and CFS is going to have to fight them with Pitbulls, and then Bamble's going to mirror match with Pitbulls. And if you have APC plus Pitbull, you should be able to beat Pitbull, generally speaking. So yeah, I think that APC is a big mirror breaker here.
Yeah, I agree. The APCs, they have tons of hit points, and really, in order to beat them effectively, you do need to have something like a tank. The Orca, even though it does deal quite a lot of damage, may not get it done. But here we go. Let's see who's going to take this first missile. So, of course, we got Bamble on all 3 of the drone swarms, and a nice block with those Militants. Really good micro there. As in, you know what, just pretty comfortably takes missile number 1.
Yeah, and of course, that was a strong missile there for Bamble. This also is a huge deal for him. Because if he wins this first missile, as he's done here, then he now has more time to get to those APCs. I think really are going to be the strongest unit in this matchup. He went into air, and then CFS wasn't able to beat him. I think if you go into air in a GDI mirror, you should lose to Pitbull first missile almost always. So the fact that he was able to win that first missile is absolutely huge. And I just don't see CFS is going to have to get some sweet Solomons to come back in this one.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny, right? The Solomon interaction with APC is different than Jade, where Jade will blow it up because it's usually 2 explosions, but not Solomon. You'll actually leave the missiles behind, so he's going to have to be careful of that, especially as we're heading here into missile number 2. That Solomon Ion Cannon could be an important tool, and both sides not really having a lot of money to spend. If you look at their economy at the moment, I mean, we've got 70 from CFS, 40 from Bamble, so really not a lot there. And Bamble also has way more money on the field. He's got 2 APCs coming out. He's going to try and get onto that far left pad, of course. It's going to take a while for that APC to shoot through the shocks, but eventually will. And then all he needs to do is just block the missiles on the bottom pad here. The Talon, of course, going to try to come down. Now an Ion Cannon with enough money saved up, but of course, timing-wise, just really wasn't impactful at all. And Bamble there comfortably takes a second missile and also the series.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, let's kick it off. I mean, two sides here. Great.
I probably put my money on Victor on this one,
be an
but
interesting one.
I feel like Victor is probably a lot rustier than Great Boy right now. Back in the day, I'd say it's Victor, but now I kind of think maybe it's going to be Great Boy that takes it down. I would put my money on my boy Grape because he's in my alliance, but currently he's in Yuri's Revenge, so I guess screw him and let's go Victor.
Right on, well said. And you know what? So you look at the decks that these two players have brought, and they're 2 very strong meta decks. So the Great Boy, I would say, is playing the slightly off meta version of Giga, running Flames and Wheels. It's not like a bad version of the deck by any means. Just generally the Chuggy deck is usually a little bit more consistent. But here against Victor, I mean, he's going to have to deal with Inferno as well as Chembuggy, which the Giga could win that out early game. It's just hard to say how it's going to play out.
Yeah, so of course we do have the Inferno Chuggy, once again with the Phantom. On this map I think the Phantom is a lot more reasonable. Phantom is also much more of a Victor style. And we're taking on the Giga Cannon, which is not, it's pretty good on this map, but not completely amazing. It does clear up that bottom enough, just enough time there for Great Boy to win that first missile, so very nice for Great Boy there. Victor doing the classic play of, fails missile has ended, send everything at the Harvester. This time I don't hate it. Like, he had 2 units up there that were actually good versus the Harv. I think he definitely gets it, so I think it's a reasonable play in this line. Once he gets that Inferno out as well, he needs to power out the Inferno to beat the Giga, so I actually do really like the going for the Harvester here from Victor. It's going to come down to whether or not Victor can stop this Inferno.
Great Boy is not respawning his Harvester for some reason.
Yeah, Great Boy still has not rebuilt that Harvester. He's really low on money here. This is one of the issues that I found the air units have when trying to take on a Giga Cannon. What we're seeing right here doesn't get the bomb off.
What a snipe!
Wow, that was a good
amazing.
One.
The bikes come out and just
this is the huge problem. This is the huge problem that the air units have against Giga Cannon. Once you start making an air unit to go for the Giga Cannon, but every time you get near it, you run into some bikes. And if you don't kill the bikes instead, then they'll kill you. So then you have to kill bikes, and by the time your next bike, by the time you reload, the next bike has arrived. So it becomes very difficult to just beat bikes. JMB.
The Flames just get around the back there. Victor not seeing them coming, and as a result, Great Boy gets onto all 3 pads and takes missile number 2 as well as game number 1.
Yes. I'm thinking Victor was warming up in the first one.
Well, hopefully, because he is down a game here, and as Blake pointed out, that does mean we're going to see GDI here from Great Boy. So let's take a look and see what he's brought.
Okay.
Okay, so we're seeing more of the Solomon Shock Pitbull Orca deck, which is, I gotta say, very unusual. It is on orbit though, which of course you do want to have flying units, so the Orca and the Talon do make a lot of sense. But I'm not so sure about the Ion Cannon with the pad so far apart. It's not like you can get a good concentrated value out of it. And then here, Victor bringing a Venom Shade, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, so we again see this same sort of Reb-style Solomon deck, which has become very popular lately. On this map, I can definitely see it. Like, Orbit is one of the most spread out maps in the game. It is one of the best maps for fast flying units. I'm a little surprised to see Talon instead of Drone Swarm, actually. He knows that Victor's bringing Nod almost always, right? Because he's won with GDI. So, Nod, like, Victor still needs a win with Nod and GDI. He chose to start with Nod. He's probably going to play Nod again. So I'm a little surprised to see Great Boy not bring Drone Swarm if you think you're going to play against GDI. Drone Storm Orca can beat most Nod decks, just like because Nod is weak to air. But he has chosen to go with that Talon. It's going to be maybe pay off because he has Venoms and Shades against him. Really, I think this game, Great Boy is very strong if he makes Pitbull as basically his only unit for the entire game.
So far, that is apparently what he is going to do. We got 3 Pitbulls coming out. He's going to get the Pitbull up onto the top pad. We got double Pitbull on the bottom with the Shocks on the right. So that should be missile number 1 for Grape. Yep. All right, there it is.
And there you see it. This is what I'm saying. Pitbulls beats Victor's pretty much his entire deck. Victor is playing this Paplagon deck. I've tried this on ladder as well. I like the Ceph a lot on this map, but it doesn't help against those Pitbulls. And Pitbull is the thing this deck is weakest to. It has no unit that can just kill a Pitbull outright. Literally none. Like Stealth Tank and Shade do not kill a Pitbull outright. They both leave them with a little bit of hit points. So
yes, even the Stealth Tank doesn't one-shot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Nothing kills a Pitbull in one hit. Stealth Tank definitely doesn't.
I mean, Victor could bunch up the Venoms with the Shade. The Venom damage,
yes.
Chip damage with the Shade will clear it, but that's, you know, kind of a tall order, right?
Yes, that's how he can one-shot, in air quotes, a Pitbull is with some Venom chip damage, but then you have to have 2 units on one pad, and on Orbit you don't want to have 2 units on one pad. That's not where you want to be in life. So, and even if he does that, if he puts a Venom and a Shade in the same pad, Grape just sends a Talon up there. So, it's looking pretty tough for Victor. Like, he's really struggling with these Pitbulls.
Well, and seeing that, Great Boy builds out a couple more. We got the Shocks coming in as well. The Venom, even though it is pretty strong, it doesn't really clear them out very quickly. So these Pitbulls here are just getting a ton of value against the lasers. We do see a Seth Robot coming out on the far right. Might be a little bit early, but there's plenty of time there for it to just hold on to that pad. And as well, we got the Shade and the Venom combination now getting online. But of course, on this map, it's a little bit tough to keep them together. We see that one Pitbull there, even though it's all the way down most of its hit points, it's going to clear up that Shade because, of course, it can't one-shot it. The Bikes do manage to get on there. We got that Orca, which is just going to sit there for all day long. The Venom's not going to do anything about it. The Bikes need to get on that pad, but we see Great Boy with the nice blocks on the Pitbull, and there it is. Missile number 2, and also the victory.
Well, see it, guys.
Again,
missiles to 0.
Is a bit rusty. He's a bit rusty. That's all I'm saying over here.
Yeah. And this is how I called it, man. I said Victor, he hasn't playing as much anymore. Great Boy's been consistently playing, and we see a 4 missile to 0 victory there. Absolutely dominant. Well said. And of course, we have now the raffle is now open, by the way, guys. So do exclamation mark raffle if you want to have a chance to win that vanity. And I think we've kept everyone waiting long enough. Let's get into Sin 1 versus
the next match. Let's go.
JMS Northern, game number 1. We're seeing Oksana versus Ceph. So this Nod mirror match for the first game.
That makes a lot of sense, right? Like, especially with the way the balance is these days. I think kind of want to put your best foot forward, don't you?
New mission received.
Alright, so take a look at these decks. We have Sin 1 appears to be playing Scarab Fanatic Tank, and JMS Northern is playing a only laser infantry with Banshee Giga Cannon. Wow. These are some meme tier decks right here.
A little bit, yeah. Like, the Giga's a really good unit, and of course the Bikes are a good choice, but no lasers on Sinwin's side, and then no militants on JMS's side, so I'm not really sure what to make. I think the Giga obviously is the key unit here, right? Like, beyond that, I mean, there's just nothing that Sinwin has that realistically beats it, so I think once the Giga gets in play, it's going to be real tough.
Yeah, and of course these Scarabs, there actually is no good targets. There's no 10 cost unit on JMS's side, so theoretically the Scarabs could be good.
Well, okay, and so as we saw there, JMS really comfortably took that. I mean, the Scorpion tank from Sin 1 just did nothing at all. Of course, the lasers very easily pushed it back, and then the Buggy here with his fastest movement speed made it all the way to the other side of the map, so JMS comfortably gets onto the pads, and that gives him missile number 1.
Yeah, of course, that first missile does. We actually haven't seen a Scarab yet from Sin 1, which I'm a little disappointed by, because, like, ironically, they wouldn't be terrible. Like, JMS doesn't have any unit that costs less than 20. The Scarabs should theoretically be able to trade evenly, maybe. I mean,
maybe. I don't know. It's kind of a I don't know. That might not happen. They might be a bit risky, but you know what? Scarabs, as meaty as they are a pretty good unit. And look at this. The first one's coming out. Oh, but hold on. The Giga, of course, being fully charged, just absolutely decimates it. Scarabs just could not get anywhere at all. And here's Sinwon really backed up. He's not going to be able to get onto these pads very quickly. JMS easily spits out a Banshee, which really doesn't do much, but of course, holding a pad, it'll do that. And does that? It does well. So there it is. Missile number 2 for JMS and game number 1.
Okay, let's go to the next one.
All right, here we are.
Let's get it on.
Game number 2, we see McNeil mirror match. What is happening right now? These guys have to have coordinated their memes, right?
You would think so, right? I mean, well, okay, so on a serious note, okay, so different decks, but of course we got Borka, well, triple air GDI, really.
Finally, I see
very
Borka,
strange.
my favorite unit. Let's go.
Yep. But with McNeil, it's, I don't know about it. I mean, I guess on a map like this with the severe choke points, I guess that's where the trap might see some value, but I don't know, other than that, I don't really see the synergy.
2 McNeils. Well, that's interesting.
Unit ready.
Like, I guess you throw the trap down at the end of the first missile, and perhaps your goal is just to stop him from getting onto the pad. Maybe it works in that scenario, but it's not going to catch you up to anything.
Yeah.
Well, I can say there were times when I played, you know, just messing around with McNeil and Borka, and I had 2 pit bombs on the field, and they both got trapped in McNeil trap, and my Borka had no problem dealing with them. Usually pit bulls are a problem for Borka because they can run away, but those 2 got annihilated.
Well, and they sure were a problem for that Razorback, as you saw 2 of them bunched up there, took care of business, and the snipers only lost 1 model, which a little bit of a surprise when you see a Razorback on the field.
Unit ready.
Yeah, really unusual for a Razorback not to just absolutely crush snipers. But you know, I mean, if you can make snipers work, then more power to you, because they are a tough unit right now.
Well, and especially on a map like this, where presumably, because of the fact that it's a 2-pad map, you'd have to do less microing to get them get the value out of them. But, well, speaking of that, here comes the first Borka from Sinwon, crushing that Pitbull. Down it goes, and you see from JMS, he really wants to get to his Hammerhead. He's going to have to rely on these Pitbulls to deal with it, which isn't really that difficult compared to dealing with an Inferno. I think Borka is probably a lot easier to deal with, but, you know, timing-wise, things may not play out here. As we see, it's fully reloaded, going to go down again. Should clear that Pitbull before it clears the Borka, and there it is. So the Borka does take it out. Doesn't get destroyed, of course, from the return fire from the Pitbull, but here we are coming into missile number 2, and JMS really wants to clutch this one and just take him out, but can he make it happen? We see that Razorback low hit points. It's going to go down to the missile troopers, and as soon as the Pitbull goes down, all he has to do is throw them in place, and that's exactly what he does. So with the Pitbull on the bottom pad, that gives him missile number 2, and of course, game number 2.
And that is going to be the match, unless I'm mistaken. Oh, I haven't got the cameras, my bad. That's going to be the match, unless I'm mistaken. There it is, JMS 2-0 versus Sinwon.
Yep. Well, you know who I'm putting my money on, so let's go.
Let's go! I love it.
Here we go, Paffy G. Let's go, Giza! Taking on Hawkinator. Nod versus GDI.
Moldspire as well. Which, you know what, I guess for some of the 2-range shenanigans GDI has, it's not bad, but Paplagon here playing Suzaku GDI APC, that's pretty good, actually. Strong Arm's got some good placements on this map. The APCs can be tough to deal with. That said, though, Hawkinator here playing the pretty standard Inferno list with Phantom.
Yeah, this is the... Huck prefers the Phantom version. That's what he always plays on ladder. Phantom version will be much better in this matchup because Orca is the main unit you want Phantom for. Like, pretty much, you want Stealth Tank pretty much always, except against Orca decks, then you want Phantom, like 100% of the time. So, Hawkinator also just playing GDI, sorry, Nod, so I give him the benefit of the doubt on this one. Paplagon's deck is not a bad choice though. I think it's pretty bad in the metagame, but actually it's not bad against Hawkinator's deck, because APC gives you a nice way to kill lasers that are guarded by a Chuggy, and it's kind of tough to kill it with an Inferno. It takes 2 bombs.
Okay, here we go. Missile number 1. We got that Orca coming in place, going to take care of the bikes. Almost getting all 3, actually. But, well, of course, Hawkinator using these cheap militants to good effect, taking all 3 pads, and that comfortably gives him missile number 1.
Yeah, that missile actually looked like it wasn't going to be remotely close, and then Paplagon almost got the drones on the bottom pad. And if he'd done that, he actually had like favorable matchups pretty much across the board. Like Huck did not have an anti-air unit for the Orca. The drones would have killed the rifles. I think he loses the rifle matchup on the top left, but only by a little bit, and easily could have won that pad. So if he was a little bit quicker there, Paplagon, maybe if he didn't have that delay from playing inside of a nightclub, we might have seen a missile go the other way.
Absolutely, yeah. He's maybe needs to concentrate more on the game instead of his dance moves. And well, speaking of that, we see the Orca dancing in and out of that bottom pad, getting taken down from those attack bike missiles, getting the lock on early there. Very big beating, as he does need that Orca to reasonably clear out these bikes very quickly. He is going to switch over to Pitbull now. Paplagon 2, of course, needs it. And here, the first Inferno coming down clears that Pitbull, but this APC is going to last a long time. But of course, that's not how we win the game. It's all about the pads. And there it is. All right, Hawkinator with all 3 pads. That Chuggy almost nearly going down, but well, saves the day and gives him game number 1.
Really good play by Hawkinator there. Just fantastic.
Yes, it was pleasure to watch games like this, you know? Although I was rooting for the other guy, but still.
Let's kick it off.
Let's go. And Paplagon bringing GDI again. Hawkinator, unsurprisingly, also playing GDI.
And so he's played Jackson, which leads me to think it's going to be Predator Shock. No, not at all. It's a pretty interesting deck here. We got snipers with Dogs, Pitbull, Sling, and Orca. So I guess if he was not expecting Nod, like Paplagon could have brought Inferno here, and Inferno could have been a big problem for a deck like what Hawkinator's brought, but he didn't. So he's got to be pretty happy to see GDI from Paplagon here.
Yeah, I mean, it is of course GDI Mirror. We see Paplagon bringing that APC deck again. I'm surprised I normally see him playing it with Solomon and double halve on ladder. Maybe he isn't confident in that in a tournament setting. In terms of matchup advantage, I have to give it to Paplagon. The snipers are very good, but I just think the APC is going to be fantastic in this matchup.
It should be. Yeah, the Orca shouldn't clear it very quickly, right?
Yeah, like Orca takes 2 volleys to kill it. It's not a great choice against them. And then we come back to the same situation of Pitbull versus Pitbull APC, and you want to be Pitbull APC in that matchup. However, Paplagon has gone into Air Tower first. A lot of you know my thoughts on this. I think if you go Air Tower first in a GDI Mirror, you're normally going to lose the first missile, because Pitbulls are too strong. And that's exactly what we see happening here. But, oh my god, Hawkinator boosts his one-man sniper squad.
Oh, that boost has got steroids in their veins.
What a crazy play! Is it going to work? Sort of? I don't know if that boost was relevant.
I mean, really, there, Paplagon missed the block with his missiles. He didn't block the dogs from getting onto the pad. So, really, the snipers clearing anything didn't win in the missile there. But at the same time, I mean, how often do you see those kind of plays happen?
That sniper died like a hero, boosted and everything.
Exactly, right? Oh, that was kind of cool, actually.
It's just that. Like with a player like Hawkinator as well. It might have been a misclick, but it feels like it might have been a conscious decision.
Yeah, I mean, potentially, I guess, you know, every sniper shot clears potentially 1 missile trooper, so I suppose with enough time it works, but either way, though, I mean, Hawkinator managed to clutch that missile, and very important as well, because against the APC deck, you don't want to go to the late game.
No, you definitely don't. Like, if Paplagon is, like, you can see how low Paplagon is on money, because he's invested quite a lot in his air tower. Paplagon really needs to start pumping out APCs to win this one. The issue is he needs to win the Pitbull mirror. You can't just make an APC when you're down 2 Pitbulls. This player I like a lot from Paplagon. He's going to start spamming rifles. This is it takes a while for the snipers to clear them, but then he's been blocked out by the missiles. It's looking really bad for Paplagon. Never made it to those APCs.
That's it.
Huck is just way too far ahead. I don't see how Paplagon gets back into this one.
Wow, the sweaty sniper micro from Hawkinator. Those blocks, let me tell you. Wow, they really shut him down. Paplagon going down 2 in a row. Did you see that coming? I sure didn't. Wow, what a game.
Yeah,
what a game.
I was surprised. I thought Paplagon didn't play Nod, which is a pretty risky plan. I feel like once you lose the first game, just take your Nod versus GDI advantage. But he wanted to win with GDI, and he didn't. And Hawkinator just kind of schooled him. It was a lot further apart than I thought it was going to be. I thought Paplagon was going to make that a lot closer. Oh my god.
Let's go.
Kenny not giving me any warning there. I guess he wanted to snap it up before Oaken could leave. And there it is. It's your boy, Oaken, rank 1, where he belongs. Oaken, good player, taking on Great Boy. And Oaken with a completely different deck to what he normally plays. No MG from him this time. Why has
surprising.
Oaken switched deck? That is...
Unit ready.
Because he's gonna play MGs the second match, pretty much my prediction.
Yeah, saving the best for last, perhaps. And I got to agree with you. In this matchup, we got Giga Cannon from Great Boy. Of course, a great choice here on the needle with the pads so close together. Oaken here does have an out using the Ion Cannon as well as the the Orca. But the problem with Ion is it's too expensive, right? Like, they can just rebuild Giga by the time you've got your next Ion Cannon ready to go. So you kind of fall behind in that sense. Oaken does have snipers, though, which will shut down these flames.
Unit ready. Unit
Yeah, I mean... Like, Great Boy... Here we go for first missile. Great Boy, he's trying to get the flip. Here it comes. Big flips. Not giving Oaken time to respond.
Ooh.
Really set that. That was actually... Like, it looks like he's kind of just messing around a little bit. It wasn't necessary. But actually, those snipers could shoot the flamers if he was using them to block. So, that was actually a really nice play from Great Boy to give Oaken less time to get onto that bottom pad. And also not leave his flamers open to the snipers. So, yeah. Actually, a really nice play by Great Boy. I think, as Jeffrey's saying, a lot of this game is going to come down to, can Oaken beat a Giga Cannon? Once Great Boy has no protection really for this Giga yet against this Orca. If it goes down here, it's really bad for Great Boy. Oh, it's going to go down. There it is. The Orca smashes it. And Great Boy really needs to set up that Phantom plus Giga combo. But even then, he's still weak to snipers. So Oaken's deck here actually looking pretty nice. This could go either way.
So Oaken now getting the snipers in place. The Flames do get right up against them there. Oaken opting not to back them off, so they've already lost a model. Those second set of wheels are going to come out and also deal some damage to the second set of snipers there. So Oaken's anti-infantry here looking a little bit sparse at the moment, and he does need them to shut down these lasers, especially as we're heading into missile number 2. That pitbull on the bottom, of course, it will last against the lasers for a little bit of time, but he needs to clear up this top pad, and, well, Great Boy really gets some sweaty micro going, but hold on a minute. We see the flips going on, and nice splitting.
Oh, the flip back!
That was Great Boy to flip it. Wow.
Holy moly.
That Orca split was everything. Wow. What a sudden end to that game. Holy cow.
Obviously, I haven't always been Oaken's #1 fan.
3, 2,
But
1.
there's something like, I don't know, this tournament is really making me appreciate Oaken much more. So I just want to see more Oaken action. That's all I want.
If I'm not mistaken, Oaken was the one who was playing artillery.
Yes,
right?
artillery Inferno. Yeah.
And he played the Juggernauts and all those tech units that nobody wanted to play. And I can admit every time I queued into Oaken, even though I knew he's running tech, somehow he was able to outmaneuver me in terms of getting that tech out in the end.
Yeah,
so,
Oaken always gets the artillery out. He always gets the artillery out at like 1 minute 5, and it's so hard to beat artillery.
Yep.
He knows how to stall the missile and things like that. I wouldn't say I'm his #1 fan at this point, but we'll see. Maybe after this tournament, I will join your club, Blade. Who knows?
You can't be his #1 fan because I already am. There's only one spot.
Well, I'll be #2. Okay.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, boys, you fight over Oaken some other day. We got to fight over this missile. So here we go. We got Oaken trying to make a fight for it, but actually, Great Boy really on all three here, using shocks, dogs, and missiles. Unfortunate there, because Oaken really tried to push ahead with the snipers, but again, one of the problems with the two-range unit is you can't push in. You kind of have to be fortified to get a lot of value out of them. And, well, Great Boy was just there first.
Unit lost.
So, of course, these snipers for Oaken are going to be great on this map. I'm actually a little surprised to see Great Boy bringing shocks instead of snipers for this map. I feel like snipers are way better.
Unit ready. Unit lost.
They are very good here. Ooh, look at this. So we see the dogs pull away from the snipers, and that actually allowed enough time for that lone dog just to actually eat up one of the models. So here Oaken really trying to get a foothold with these snipers. He is so slowly getting there. Great Boy will have to push forward with shocks. He's got all the money in the world, though. As you see, he's even got enough just to save up for an ion cannon. We'll see if that comes to fruition. But yeah, so far Oaken making a little bit of a push here.
And now we see both players switching into that air. I don't think Oaken should have gone air. I think Great Boy kind of had to, but I think Oaken could have stuck with those pit bulls. And he has a slingshot. A slingshot here would be huge. Really surprised not to see a slingshot coming out for Oaken. He needs to clutch this missile. It's looking... Oaken might fall here. I don't think he can clear a pad. No,
Not
Oaken!
at all.
Unit lost.
Unfortunate. Oaken gets out of the game. Great Boy taking him down 2 missiles in a row. And you know what, though?
Great Boy
really
is on
strong
fire.
player.
Great Boy is on fire.
Great Boy absolutely dominating this tournament.
Against
Great
Victor,
Boy
right?
MVP.
Like,
Great Boy is actually crushing this tournament. He's been the most consistent. Like haven't watched that many matches yet, but he's been the most consistently impressive from people we're watching.
that's for sure.
All right, we do have ogres. I think we are ready to go.
I think so. Yeah, let's get underway with game
All right,
1.
so the
of course,
remake.
the redo.
I'm gonna leave this one up to Giza and Jeffrey because I need to resort out the desk scene.
Okay, let's get that adrenaline pumping again.
All right, Giza, here we go. So Olga's here. Of course, we got both players playing Nod. We got Olga's running Inferno. This is actually a deck we've been seeing quite a bit throughout this tournament so far. With, of course, the Phantom variant versus Stealth Tank. And then on Taran's side, playing a pretty standard deck. He's opted to run Laser Flames with Scorpion Tank. And then he's got Kane Tower, which is pretty interesting. I guess it'll shut down those Chuggies. But who do you favor in this matchup?
Well, I will favor the Inferno. As long as he gets it out in time, it's gonna be a trouble for Taran.
I agree. I mean, the tower doesn't shoot up, so the Infernos could be really good. The Infernos will take care of the tanks. The Flames, of course, won't do much, so yeah, could work out that way. Okay, well, here we go. So, Missile 1 coming down to...
Tank is a very good unit at, taking the first missile, being aggressive and everything. Let's see if he can get on the pad, but I don't think he will be able to. Oh, he will, actually.
Oh,
but,
he gets on there!
But August occupied all 3 pads. Ooh,
nice.
that could have been a flip, but it wasn't.
It almost was, though. I mean, Olga's really tried to give him the gears there, and he does manage to get Missile 1 against Taran, which, you know what, not an easy thing to do.
Now has plenty of time to deploy those Infernos to deal with the tanks.
Well, and that's where Olga's really needs to be, right, Gazarius? He really needs to get to those Infernos quickly, because, of course, for Olga's, though, he has gotten that first missile, so timing-wise, he's got plenty of time under his belt, and we're going to get close to the point in the game where the economy is fully ramped, which
He's in
should be
good
good for
position.
Infernos.
He's in good position right now.
That's right. And, I mean, Taran here, of course, there are ways for him to claw back. He does have Phantom in his deck, so it looks like that's kind of where he's at right now. He realizes, at least by this point, I would say, that the tower really isn't going to give him a lot of value. Oga's here trying to play the value game himself. He hasn't got to his Inferno just yet, but economy-wise, you see he's almost there. He's at 150. There it goes. So now the first Inferno coming out. It does need to make it a huge impact here, though. We'll see if it can clear up this middle pad, and if Taran can maybe get onto the other pad as well. But no, in fact, the Inferno just not really going to shoot anything at all. Very unfortunate there as the nice micro from Taran.
Absolutely. Taran confused that Inferno completely. It was flying in the air and not knowing what to do. He wanted to target the middle pad, but he microed that 1 HP flames really well, and that Inferno actually didn't do anything.
That's right. Yeah, and you see here, the Phantom gets his full volley off there, clearing up the Inferno, because the Inferno had already taken a couple of shots, so that Phantom managed to clear 1 shot, but Phantom so far pushed up ahead. Oga's clears it out with his lasers, so bit of a loss there, but that said, I mean, Taran is flush with cash, so he's not hurting too much in that regard.
Yep, August is in a bad spot right now. He's in a bad spot.
What do you think he needs to do to come back here?
Well, maybe try to get that Inferno in time, but I don't think he will. Oh, well, he goes for Phantom. Phantom on Phantom action. But there's another Phantom, 2 Phantoms. Well, that solidifies the game for Taran.
That was it. Yep, the double Phantom, right? Like, Taran, he had got so much money under his belt by just having more favorable trades. And Ogus couldn't get to Inferno very quickly, so it really didn't do much. And like you pointed out, he just kind of didn't get much done with it, right? Like, he flew it around. It was almost like the pilot was drunk, you know? It just didn't really know what to do or where to go.
If you don't get major damage with your first Inferno, it's pretty much very hard to recover from that. I wanna see August how August recovers.
Right. I also would like to say that we have peaked at 168 viewers today.
That's amazing.
Which might be the highest for any Rivals tournament ever.
Is that a lot?
It is a lot. It is a lot. Yep. It might. I don't know if it is actually the highest. Maybe there was a 200 before. I don't know, but 168 is definitely a lot.
It's very high. Yeah, that's great. You love to see the support come out, especially as, you know, how long it's been since this game got a, you know, balance update or anything, really. So I just love to see that. You know, it does really speak volumes to what kind of game this is.
And we not in the finals yet.
Not even in the finals. You're absolutely right.
I can tell you for sure. Some of the viewers just went and are getting something to eat and waiting for when the finals are gonna come. When the finals are gonna be here, we're gonna beat the next record. That's for sure.
Well, look, things just got interesting as Ogre pops out a Giga Cannon. Taran, of course, doesn't really have anything that's really great at fighting Giga Cannon here. He does have Predator with Jackson, but, you know, if Ogre can get this set up properly, it could be a huge problem here for Taran.
He needs to protect that Giga now.
Yeah, Taran has this, this is an Alicia Destiny sniper deck that I personally have played a few times, didn't really like. And it definitely is going to struggle with Giga Cannon. But snipers are a big help for fighting Giga because you can kill the lasers in front.
And here we are coming down to missile number 1. Of course, that Giga is in a pretty decent spot. It will be able to cover that second pad, but the missile's there with the boost, clearing it one shot. So, well, Taran just sneaks back and gets that missile number 1.
As I said, that Giga needed protection.
It really did, yeah. And you know what? You kind of saw what was going to happen there. The Giga looked like it was going to start gaining infinite value, which is really what it does best. And especially on a map like this, the Needle, where you have pads relatively close together, the Giga Cannon can do reasonably well. But Taran, of course, he's a very smart player. He knew that if he boosted those missiles, he'd be able to clear the Giga Cannon. So, yeah, it was very easy for him to push back there.
Yeah, and here we see Ogre does have those Venoms, but it's really tough to use air to fight GDI. That's just always been the case. That Venom really... I think he should be actually suiciding this Venom. Like, you see him back off when he sees the Pitbull, but I think you can just go in against a single Pitbull and either force back or beat snipers. So I'd like to see him being a little bit more aggressive there.
He does manage to win that engagement with the missile troopers there. Taran tried to boost them and take care of it, but it wasn't full hit points this time. That said, the second one goes down, and we do see Ogre's rebuilding them constantly, but they are 80 Tiberium. They're not exactly the cheapest unit to keep remaking, so this next one's going to be all that he can use in order to win this missile, and he's down a missile, so this is all she's got. And let's see if he can make it happen. So nice block there with the lasers. He does manage to get the Giga Cannon with the boost there. The snipers are moving in place, and like Blade pointed out, they are going to be able to clear up these lasers, but that said, of course, he needs to be on a pad, so Ogre's nice comeback wins missile number 2.
Yeah, and one of the biggest issues with playing Giga Cannon on this map is there is no ideal spot for it where it really dominates. The spot he has it in now, above that missile silo, is probably the best because it both holds a pad and covers 2 pads. The issue with that being, it's actually kind of difficult to keep a Giga Cannon alive when it's that far pushed up on the map. Like, the natural blockers of the rocket and the missile can be useful, but they can also make it very difficult for your defensive units to help out. So really what you want is a situation where your Giga can be one tile back towards your side of the map and have a nice front line. And this map doesn't provide that spot. So whilst Giga is fantastic against Taran's deck, it's not actually the best map ever for a Giga Cannon. And you can see that in the way that the Giga isn't totally dominating, but it is giving him an edge.
Taran here really trying to break this Giga Cannon up. He throws the missiles there, but nice blocking from Ogre is getting the militants just in the way. But here again, he needs to be able to clear up this far right pad, so he gets the first Pitbull. That's going to go down, but Taran here switches over to drones. Of course, there's nothing from Ogre that really shoots it up, so he's going to have to build these bikes. But with the pop cap situation here, he doesn't really have anything to he can get to real quickly, so he does manage to clear up that Pitbull really quickly, but of course, these missiles going to be maybe a potential problem here. And same with that boosted Pitbull. Very smart play there, as it does clear up the Giga Cannon, buying Taran just a bit more time. He does have game number 1 under his belt, so it's not like if he loses, he's out, but of course, still a very important victory. Nice play here as he gets all 3 pads secured. And oh, hold on a minute, the drone swarms go down just in the nick of time, installing the missile just long enough. So we got the militants coming up on the left. That lone sniper, though, holding down the fort. You got to give him that a lot of credit there. He is that sniper is definitely an MVP so far. And here we go, another Giga Cannon coming out, but it isn't a really good spot. But that said, can that bike hold on long enough? And oh man, look at the timing on this missile, just absolutely insane.
Here he is. I think that's it. Taran with units on all 3 pads. That's going to be the game.
Oh my
And there
God.
it is, 2-0 for Taran. I don't think anyone's super surprised to see that outcome. If anything, I think Ogre's just had a really good showing to even make it so close. And I see everybody ready to go, so let's get straight into it. Mihawk versus PatGarin.
3,
Let's go!
New
And
objective.
I do not know who is going to win this one. I wouldn't even know who to say who's favored.
Oh, it's got to be the snipers with the Orca, right? I mean, the Seth is pretty decent here, but like the Banshees are going to have almost no impact, I don't think. I mean, Pitbull's just going to shut that down, and then a Slingshot could just completely shut that out, but I don't think he's going to need to use that. The Orcas, though, because there's nothing really heavy to deal with it from PatGarin's side, he doesn't have Stealth Tank, doesn't have Phantom, he's got Bikes and Lasers, but this map has severe choke points, so I don't know, I think the Orca could be a big problem.
Building online.
Yeah, I gotta say that the Orca is definitely the best unit for Mihawk here, and PatGarin very weak to Orca. He's only got that Banshee. Banshee, a lot of you will know my opinion on Banshee, but I believe that since the change to 30 cost, it's close to unplayable. And Mihawk also has those snipers. Sniper Pitbull is going to be not that good because of the tank, but I think once we get an Orca coming out from Mihawk, it's going to look very strong for him.
Unit ready.
Ooh, those snipers got the boost, but they also got shot in the face. I mean, those wheels just took a good opportunity there and got right up close to them, clearing them out. So here we are coming down. We're almost at missile number 1. We see the block on the tank. They're very important, as I believe that tank should last long enough. But just in case it doesn't, we got the militants coming in from behind. And also the dogs, again, not high enough DPS to clear those militants on the bottom pad. So PatGarin takes missile number 1.
Major structural damage.
Yeah, and
received.
obviously without that Orca, Mihawk's really going to struggle with tanks. Tank beats most of his deck. Tank plus, well, he could just spam missiles in front of a sniper, and that might do it. But we haven't seen that happen yet.
No, and look at this, that drill pod coming down in time, getting rid of those snipers. Although it is not a great economy trade. I mean, you're spending 70 to get rid of 50. That said, pushing snipers out of position is still a pretty good thing.
Yeah, and those snipers do actually go down to that flamer. Mihawk does get that Orca out, which is going to be an absolutely critical piece of the puzzle for him.
Unit lost.
But if he can't protect these snipers, then he's not going to be able to win this game. That is absolutely critical, and we're not seeing that good sniper protection yet.
No, you see that? The snipers got booted out of place by those oncoming wheels. We do see a Pitbull coming out. Of course, that's exactly what Mihawk needs to respond with here, is they will deal with both the wheels and the Banshee. They're causing so much havoc for these snipers. So he gets a boost on those the snipers, but a little bit egregious, I have to say, is he didn't really get a lot of value for it, only clearing up those single lasers. So this Banshee, though, getting some good value here, taking down an Orca now. We got the missiles on the bottom as well, though. So they'll eventually win that engagement. Now we got a Slingshot coming up, which will eventually clear up the Banshee, but the wheels get in the way and stop the Slingshot from getting onto a pad, because, of course, it isn't just about fighting the units, it's about the pads. And well, PatGarin realizing that takes missile number 2. Here we are. And it's on Sandbar as well, which kind of similar to Great Divide, but the big difference, of course, is the rock placement. It's a lot more open getting to these two pads than it is on Great Divide.
And we do see PatGarin playing the Nod. He's bringing that Chuggy Inferno deck that is so popular at the moment. Really just the most popular Nod deck. The Phantom variant seems to have become a lot more popular than Inferno. Although, knowing that your opponent is playing GDI, I think it makes a lot of sense to bring that Phantom instead, because Orca is the main unit you're going to want a Phantom against. So knowing your opponent is GDI makes the Phantom a much more reasonable choice with a blind deck opponent.
That's where you see faction supremacy make a bit of a difference here, especially as we come into this first missile here. PatGarin forced to go GDI, so these fast-moving bikes can prove to be a bit of an issue. Look at the dancing going on at the top pad there, the blocking with the bikes, but eventually the dancing doesn't prevail, and the shocks do, so they get onto the pad, and there goes missile number 1 for PatGarin.
Yeah, the issue here, of course, being that it's reasonably, like, you know, once you get to this level, players know how to block. It's very difficult to block at the same time as building a new unit and bringing it into combat.
Absolutely,
So you
that's
see
what
that-
I was wanted to say. It's you can block whatever you want, but when you need to bring another unit or micro another unit on the other pad, it becomes a whole different story.
Yeah, that's
Totally,
exactly what
yeah.
happened there. We saw that the bikes were blocking absolutely fine, but then Mihawk knew he'd lost bottom. So he has to make a different play. He has to make lasers send them down, but as soon as he does that, the bikes stop for half a second, and those shocks get onto the top, and then that's that.
Look at that. The Phantom comes out just in the nick of time to clear up that Orca, but the Orca managed to get 3 shots off, bringing that Chuggy down to very low levels of hit points. So even though the Phantom did win that matchup, the Orca went down very quickly as well. So didn't work out too well there. And that Phantom there just holding the pad on the top. We're going to see Mihawk try to get onto this pad, but the Shocks and the Dogs, he needs an air unit. And well, of course, the Dogs are very good at blocking. So very easy there for PatGarin to steal it. And he takes missile number 2.
Yeah, and of course there we see pretty swift 2-0 for PatGarin. So Mihawk,
Really
I believe this. Yep. We have seen Mihawk earlier in the tournament, so I'm reasonably confident this was the loser bracket. So unfortunately, Mihawk's tournament run has come to an end. JMS. And after this match, we will do the first vanity. It's going to be a reroll because Sarpedon doesn't want his. So it is going to be a reroll.
Can I get his vanity?
You cannot get his vanity. I'll tell you what, Gizaris. I'll do you a deal, mate. If you go to chat and type !raffle, then there's a chance that you can have his vanity.
All right. Sounds fair. Sounds fair.
All right, so here, taking a look at these decks, we got Watershed playing a comfort deck, as I've seen him play this before. It's kind of an interesting deck where he runs Mutant Chuggy, but no bikes. He's going to rely on laser drones for that cheap anti-vehicle unit slot, and then Phantom, of course, to clean up the rest. JMS here playing a little bit more of an even-keeled deck. He doesn't have militants, and he's not running any real heavy anti-infantry. The heaviest he's got there is Venom. So these mutants could prove to be a tall order for that deck to deal with.
Yeah, I also got to say that this is the deck JMS Northern played before, so our theory that it was a meme deck is disproven. This is a legitimate deck.
Well, and what are these buggies going to do, right? Like, I think part of the problem here is that Watershed, even though he doesn't have bikes, so of course the Banshees and the Venoms are going to be a little bit better, as long as he can buy enough time to get to that Phantom, I just don't see really how that's ever going to work out for him.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Watershang's deck is a little unusual, but like you say, the mutants are going to beat the entire War Factory. The Phantom can start cleaning up the Venoms. I don't know what JMS does at that point. I don't know what his game plan is.
Well, and of course, Watershed here wanting to build out lots of mutants, so he's already built about 3, and they're getting good value here as they clear up that buggy there. And JMS here tech switching over to Venom. Enough time has passed that he's actually been able to get into all 3 of his buildings, so these Banshees and Venoms are going to be important. Of course, the Venoms are going to be able to deal with these lasers. We get the 2v1 up on the top left. Banshee coming in from behind here, pushing the Chuggy away just a little bit. Of course, the Chuggy not able to deal with the Venoms is going to be very important as well. And here, the Venoms here should last long enough to fire the missile, and JMS takes it at missile number 1.
Yeah, that lack of bikes really hurting Watershang here. Also, he just shot the base for a while with his mutants when he was clearly trying to attack the heart.
Targeting the harvester. Maybe he would have been
so
able
that's
to
mad
get it.
Awkward. But
Yeah,
the lack of bikes is
there.
absolutely killing him here. In fact,
Maybe there's some kind of a lag because it seems like.
What I was going to say here, the Banshee actually fills exactly the same role as a Talon against Phantoms. If you make only Banshees, then you can't beat it with Phantoms. The problem is it's not as good as Talon because you can beat it with Laser. Talon spam can beat Laser Phantom. So actually, Watershang's deck cannot beat Talon, but he can beat Banshee because he has lasers.
Yeah, exactly right. Like, the lasers would be so impactful here, but, well, I mean, yeah, it's just not going to, we're not going to see that come out. And, well, this Phantom here getting chased back off the bottom pad. Laser drones actually getting a little bit of value here. We see the buggy coming on the top left, and I don't really know who's going to win that engagement. It looks like so far it's going to be the buggy. And the Phantom with the laser drone on the top right are going to hold for long enough, but the laser drone making it over to the left, stalling the missile just long enough, and the mutants cleaning up that buggy. There it is. All right. That's all that Watershed needed to come back, and he takes missile number 2.
We almost had the flip Gazarius was looking for there.
Just about.
Super close to having an epic flip. Unfortunately, well, fortunately for Watershang, unfortunately for JMS, that flip did not materialize, and JMS just about, Watershang just about takes that missile.
Look at this. That Seth Dropod came down, but of course a chem buggy was right there to meet its fate. And, well, you can see how it's playing out. That 70 Tiberium going right down the drain. And JMS a little bit further behind. You look at the economy difference between these two. Watershed has tons of money. He might even be able to have enough for a cheeky Jade missile. We'll see.
Maybe. He definitely has enough bank for a cheeky Jade missile here if he wanted to. He needs to save 100 to rebuild that Phantom if it goes down, but he's sitting on 200. He could easily drop a Jade missile. So far, I think we've seen 0 Jade missiles this tournament.
Okay, well, will we see a Jade Missile? I don't think he needs it. As we see, this Phantom's going to get the reload against the Venom. The mutants are going to move up, deal with that buggy. And we see the Venom getting onto the top left pad, but of course, again, the problem we pointed out earlier, these mutants with so many hit points. Oh, but hold on, just about to flip. Boy, that was close call there, but of course, Watershed gets to position early, and well, there it is. There's the Jade Missile we talked about.
Right on time, that Jade Missile. Huge impact there.
Good Jade Missile, bro.
Let's
So
kick
if
it
we
off.
want to hit that, here we go. We do, of course, have Watershed playing GDI. He did secure that win as predicted by Jeffrey. Once that Phantom was out, JMS just could not deal with the mutants anymore, and Mutant Phantom was all he needed.
Objective available.
That's right. Yep, took care of business. And, well, speaking of that, Jameis here pulling out Tick Tanks. Very interesting choice. You know what, on a map like this where it's just 2 pads, you know, Tick Tanks make a lot of sense. The only thing is, I'm not so sure that the 4 hex pads are going to favor that strategy because it's a little bit more open than he wants, I figure.
Yeah, so
And
we
his
do
deck
see
is a
that
bit
same
weak
deck.
to infantry as well.
Yeah, odd choice to re-up on that deck that did so badly the first time.
Unit ready.
Yeah, and like, so you kind of pointed something out in the first game, which was that Banshee can fill a similar role to Talon in terms of its cost for its features. So, you know, Talon versus Banshee 1v1, they both clear each other in the same amount of time, kind of just works out that way. And then sort of the same thing against Phantom here, but the thing is, Watershed has Pitbull, so Pitbull's really all he needs to shut down the air tower from JMS Northern, and then from there, I guess the Tick Tanks could be problematic. He has Orca to clear them out, and they take 3 volleys to clear a burrow Tick Tank, so I guess in that sense it could be tough, but hard to say how he's going to extract a lot of value out of that.
Yeah, I mean, this game, there's also this Orca, which takes out the buggies so easily. It seems really hard for JMS to deal with Orca. Like,
That's
once
true.
the Orca
Yep.
comes out, I don't see how. I think Watershed takes it again. It just like his decks just seem to be better than JMS's, generally speaking. Oh, here comes a big iron cannon!
Coming down,
Is it a
and the
flip?
timing is excellent.
Oh,
Look
let's
at
go!
that.
It's a flip!
Oh,
Gazarius, did you
JMS.
see?
it was a great
Well,
flip.
that maybe made me a little more aroused. Thank you. Finally.
I love it. Yeah, it should
It
have.
wasn't,
Holy
it
cow,
wasn't
what a
an
good
instant,
flip that
instant
was.
boner for you.
Unit ready.
Oh man, yeah, Watershed bringing the fire. He brought that ion cannon down, and the timing really played out very well. As you saw that he got it done early enough to flip that pad. He had units right by it just to flip it very quickly, so very nice play from Watershed.
Marching orders. You go. Moving out.
Unit lost. Ion cannon.
Oh, another ion cannon coming down here. It is next to the Tick Tank, so on top of it, it would have cleared it, but instead he opted to just aim it next to the Tick Tank. So the Tick Tank does live for a little bit longer, which could prove to be a bit of an issue here. As we see the Tick Tank here lasting a really long time. We got another Tribblod coming down, and Watershed here really having to rely heavily on these Orcas. He does unload on the Harvester, of course. Does need to fight for the pads here. This Banshee here won't clear up the Orca very quickly. I believe the Orca just needs one more volley to clear that Tick Tank, and actually, no! The Tick Tank lives with just a sliver of health, which might be all he needs. This Banshee here should clear up that Orca. There it goes. So all he needs to do is last on this left pad. Can he do it with the Venom coming in from behind? And he does it! There it is! JMS coming back. Missile number 2.
Yeah, a little surprised we're seeing Watershed making so many Talons when Pitbull, I feel, would have been superior most of the time. Obviously, the Tick Tank on the right makes Pitbull worse, but on the left, it seems like Pitbull's just better than Talon over there, so I'm a little surprised.
I agree. I mean, the Tick Tanks here, part of the reason they're getting so much value is because Watershed is really not trying to deal with them. I mean, he does have the Ion Cannon, which will one-shot a Tick Tank burrowed, so he could use that to flip them around.
Yeah.
But here's another one, and he's
Ion
only
Cannon.
focusing on the low hit point one. A little surprised to see that because he could have
Yeah.
cleared both in one shot.
That feels like a misplay. Yeah, he could have got both Tick Tanks there. Now there's still a low health Tick Tank hanging out. And here you see another reason that the Pitbulls are good. JMS has switched into the buggies, and Watershed just has a bunch of Talons that can't do anything. Watershed looking very vulnerable right now.
He does try to clear up that buggy, so he gets the one shot out of that Orca to clear it up, and then you've got a Banshee coming from behind. It will win against the Talon, so once the Talon goes down, the Banshee gets onto the pad, and then it's going to start contesting the Orca. But the Orca comes in from behind. We're going to try and see it clear up that Tick Tank, but again, it requires 3 full volleys, so there is enough time here on the clock for Jameis to try and respond. So the Zephyropod coming down might be very timely, but doesn't really have any targets. So all it's really going to do here is they're going to try and shoot up these missiles. The missiles here are going to shoot down the Banshee one more shot. They will go down to the flames, so Talon coming in from behind is going to be very good. good, but these buggies are getting some actual decent value here. But as we've talked about before, these 2-pad maps, they do tend to go like this, where you see a lot of stalling, since both players here have options in order to get onto both pads. Air, of course, can't block, so this is kind of what we're seeing here. Now, the Banshee numbers coming out here. We're going to see it go down. The Orca is going to take one more shot here, and he should be able to get in place to deal with this talent. So this actually might be JMS's game. That Banshee just needs to hold on for a slish longer, and there it is. All right, JMS with the Banshees. Something you don't expect to see every day, but there it is.
Banshees, everybody's saying Banshees are useless, but look at this. They won the game. They won the game.
No pit bulls, right? Where were the pit bulls?
Yeah, I mean, let's not jump to conclusions about the success of Banshee in this game.
Battlefield control.
That's right. This is going to game number 3, and we're here on Middle Oasis, which, you know what? For a lot of tournament players, this map can really trip you up if you don't know what you're doing. So it's going to be real interesting. And the decks both of these players have brought, interesting that neither have decided to bring something that really abuses the map, like MLRS, for example. Both kind of going into some more even-keeled decks here. And Strong Arm, I got to say, kind of an odd choice. But, you know, Blade, are there some good spots for the turret on this map?
No, not really. It's a tough turret map. I think Strong Arm is an odd choice. I believe you can put it on the far side of the top pad, but that's really about the only place it's going to be good. Also, we're playing on Middle Oasis. We see both players go Harvester first. This might be because it's the GDI mirror now. If you go Harvester first against Nod, you're asking for trouble, but GDI doesn't have a great rushing strategy. So, yeah. It's probably fine to have gone Harvester first. In terms of actual deck composition, obviously we talked about the commanders already. JMS with the Strong Arm seems pretty weak. But his APCs look really good. Watershed doesn't look like he's got a good APC cracker. It's going to come down to Pitbull's fighting the APCs. And as I've said many times before, you support your APC with Pitbull. We actually don't see JMS doing that. His Pitbull is going top. This is a big error. He needs to send the Pitbull bottom to help his APC. This APC cost him 90, and you can see it's going to do absolutely nothing here. It's really bad to lose this APC for no value.
Smart for JMS here. He popped his Harvester up onto the top tip field location so that just that way he can be ready for a potential pad flip with that Harv. That said, though, we are getting close to it firing, so he does need to try and fight for these pads. He got the drone storm coming up from the far right, so it looks like he really is just going to give up the pads. And we do see an ion cannon coming down, but of course, really isn't going to be enough. Sorka should make it there. Will it stall? It will, but it's only going to clear up the Pitbull, so this Pitbull getting onto that left pad will be all he needs as we see that drone going down, and now the drone swarms, of course, he's got all 3 pads secured, so that's going to be missile number 1 for Watershed.
Yeah, and it feels like JMS lost this missile. I honestly believe largely in part to not helping his APC at all. In the old days when APC was 80 and had better vehicle damage, you can leave an APC to 1v1 a Pitbull and it'll almost win. With the new APC reduced vehicle damage, look at how healthy that Pitbull is. It not even half hit points and it basically cracks that APC on its own. Huge misplay with that Pitbull to send it upwards. He needed to send it to support his APC. Just let Watershed have the top, man. Like, it wasn't even a good trade. He sent a Pitbull to fight a Pitbull, and they traded. So, just support your APC, keep those things together, worry about top pad later on, but, you know, make sure that APC doesn't just die for nothing, and we see here that Watershed is just dominating now.
James is throwing this game a little bit now.
Ooh, the ion cannon coming down. Doesn't really get a lot of value, but it doesn't really matter too much because Watershed there was in position earlier, having all 3 pads taken, securely taken with Talons and Orcas, so he gets it. And that is going to be the winner for the series.
Watershed takes it 2-1.
Establishing battlefield control.
Okay, here we go. Bambeloification taking on Serpus, and both players starting out with GDI. A little interesting choice here. We are on orbit, though, where you do want to have flying units, so not too surprising to see GDI, but, well, we're seeing a pretty interesting deck here from Bamble running triple infantry, triple air from GDI with Jackson, and then Serpus playing a 2-2-2 GDI deck, which has got Predator Tank and Razorback. You know, I don't know. Who do you favor in this matchup? I think the Predator Tank could be a big problem. It is slow, but with Jackson, as well as the Razorbacks, I mean, the jump jets just don't get a lot of value, do they?
Unit ready.
Riflemen, lead the way.
Unit
Well, jump jets are, you know, they do seem like paper. But
They really are. I mean, they don't have a lot of hit points for 40 cost.
building online.
Well, okay, so I mean, we're gonna have to see how he does it, but
they're fast. They're fast. They can jump over things. I mean, you should never underestimate things that can jump over your units.
that's true. Yep, flying is very strong, especially on a map like this where all 3 pads are separated apart.
But
having that flying can be very impactful.
But
for sure.
Razorback is going to shut them down pretty quickly. So at this point,
That's right. Look at that Razorback chewing up those riflemen up on the top pad. Razorback making its way down to the bottom as well, getting at the jump jets. We see the Mohawk coming as well, but of course, it's not going to be able to survive very long. I mean, it's not going to be able to clear out those riflemen. So missile number 1 goes to surface.
solid missiles for SRPSS.
It very
no
much
surprise
was. Yeah,
to see Surface
Razorback
take
was
that
just too
first
much.
one. It was a little close, but yeah, Surface, of course, just a monster.
Absolutely, yeah. Surface there, I mean, clearly it was a little bit touch and go there as we saw the Razorback going up to the top. Cleared up those riflemen, so did manage to take that pad, but there wasn't a lot of time on the clock, so... and the Razorback, with his slower movement speed, did have a bit of trouble making there, but of course, timing did work out.
Unit ready.
So now from here, though, the real question is, I mean, Surface has that missile under his belt. Bamble is a little bit further behind. He's trying to use these Mohawks here to deal with these pitbulls, but, you know,
He's
even
moving
though
his
it's got radar,
Mohawks.
but...
Yes.
Unit lost.
Well, that's exactly the problem, right? Like, he needs to get these Mohawks set up and in place, but here we see a Hammerhead coming out as well. It's pushing back this Razorback, so look at that boost on the drone storm. We're not so sure about that, and this Mohawk with 1 shot to go gets taken down very quickly. This Hammerhead really doesn't have a home to go to either, and Surface with all 3 pads comfortably takes that second missile and wins the first game.
It's actually pretty hard to make Mohawk's radar function work.
Yes.
Yeah, it really is.
It's,
it barely works.
I tried to make it work, but at some point I just gave up. You know, it's easier, I think, to just put it in place and let it rip.
We are. I love that.
So here we go.
I love that new alliance name from
Love the new
Babylonification.
alliance name. Love the new
That's
alliance
great.
name.
Shout out to
Big fan.
Jeff.
Love it. Okay, and here we are on Cracked Ice, which quite a different map from what we've seen so far. Those rocks are pretty nefarious for certain decks here. That said, though, both players have opted to bring an air-based deck. That, of course, Surface bringing his signature Inferno Chuggy deck, and then Bamble here going into triple air nod. And, you know, so Gazarius, tell me, which of these 2 do you think is favorite? I mean, we got Phantom from Babylonification, but we do have Stealth Tank from Surface, right? So the Stealth Tank played well.
You know, I know the way SRPSS can micro his tank. So he would make quick work of those Shades and Phantom, and then bring in the Infernos.
I have to agree with you. I think the Inferno played well with the Stealth Tank is going to be a huge beating here. And you see Bamble really trying to respond to this early Chuggy. One of the problems here, of course, is Chuggy is just a bit of a problem. Look at that. Those lasers just sitting by, managed to take down its EMP. And here he's trying to get it onto a pass. Of course, he's trying to get it at the Chuggy. Surface here very smartly playing his game, making sure that he doesn't take cheeky shots away from it. But nice. There we go. The Shades get onto the pad. 2 of them, in fact, trying to chase that Chuggy, but neither of them get at that. And the nice micro here with the Chuggy pushing the lasers up front, and they're going to be able to get that Shade, and there it goes. So the Venom as well. Oh, what a beating there for Bamble.
Well,
No stopping you, is there?
And Bamble with the emote as well.
Ooh,
Continue.
that was savage. The laser and the Chuggy micro from Surface just way too good.
All
The Shade
those
just never
units.
got into position. Woo.
3 missiles just standing there. Yo, what's up?
The Great Wall of Lasers right there. I mean, geez, you know, that's all you really need, right? Just build 1 Chuggy and a bunch of lasers, and you're good to go. Well, okay, so we got the lasers coming in with the boost, clearing up the first. Venom Bamble trying to crack his way through this formation, just really having a hard time of it. Again, the lasers proving to be too valuable with the Chem Buggy to support. And we see Bamble making a push down for the bottom. Those attack bikes not really getting a lot of value for him anymore, so just decides to throw him at those lasers. And Surf is gladly taking that fight as he boosts the lasers in kind. And now it's Cestrabella coming down, but of course the timing isn't there. And well, that's going to be game.
Okay, let's not
yes.
thank you so much everyone. But let's get on with the match. Let's have Alicia versus Grape. That's what the chat wants to see.
Let's get the
Absolutely.
adrenaline going.
Let's get it started. Alicia versus Grape. Oksana Mirror, both with Oksana skins as well. I personally think Black Coat Oksana is way better than Winter Oksana, but this is like a hotly contested topic. Like, this is actually a way more hotly contested topic than you'd think would be possible, because it's just 2 skins on Oksana, but I feel like this is the skin where no one can agree what the best Oksana skin is. Almost all the others, everyone's like, yeah, this is clearly the best. But this one, there's so much fighting for this one. People are never sure which is the better Oksana skin. I personally think Black Coat Oksana is the best, but I've heard a lot of people saying that Winter Oksana is way better.
A toss-up, honestly. They're both really nice, and you know what? That's just credit to the art team that did those skins. I mean, they look great.
I'm sorry, guys, but I will be keeping track with all the donations because it's so crazy and nice. Monty Spam with the 5 GT subs. Thank you very much. Conman with the 400 BDs.
All right, so let's get into this game here. We got Inferno facing off against Giga, and really, Great Boy is going to have a bit of trouble here because, of course, the Inferno is a bit of a hard counter to the Giga deck. That said, though, the one difference here, Alicia's playing the Scorpion variant, and with the Scorpion variant, she's a little bit better early game, but as you see here, this Giga Cannon put into good position here is just wreaking so much havoc. As we come into missile number 1 as well, Alicia really needs to try to get on this middle pad, but she knows that she's not going to be able to push up against this Giga, so she holds back and gives missile number 1 to Great Boy.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a great choice of deck for Great Boy. Alicia playing her old school Inferno deck, but Great Boy, he's good enough that he's shot her down on that first missile with that Giga Cannon. Most players would have lost their Giga Cannon to Alicia's tank micro, but Great Boy has managed to take it down. What he hasn't managed to do is pressure the Harvester whilst he has the advantage, and that means this Inferno is now in play, and that's going to be really tough for him to deal with. But wait, he's already at Phantom. Wow, very nice. Great Boy getting to that Phantom super early, and he's tickled the Inferno, so it might die here. No, the last missile doesn't get in. This is huge for Alicia. If this Giga gets the kill on... Oh, well, she doesn't bomb. She could have bombed the wheel and got the Giga as well, but she doesn't bomb. Oh my god,
so
I think she was trying to bait Great Boy, but Great Boy wasn't paying attention, and now the game's almost over. This Giga boosted, this is going to be enough. Is Grape going to take game 1 against Alicia Destiny 2-0?
The upset is real, folks. As you see here, the Giga Cannon proving to be too good. Great Boy sinks his fangs into this game and takes her down. Game number 1. This is the stuff you love to see, isn't it? Holy cow. Wow.
He's chewing through his opponents.
Wow, Great Boy dominating at the moment.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Here we go. Alicia Destiny. Interestingly, Alicia also playing GDI, even though she could play Nod again. We're on Fighting Pit. This might be why she's playing GDI. She does love that sniper deck. It is snipers. It is, again, a classic Alicia Destiny style deck. She's even gone MLRS for double 2-range units. Great Boy actually quite weak to this, except that he has that Solomon. Solomon's going to give him the ability to pop that MLRS at a key moment and potentially steal a missile with it.
But doesn't the Borka just become too good here? Like, he does have Talon, but he doesn't have anything that's going to really shut it down. I guess Pitbull's, right? Like, Pitbull's kind of where he needs to be, but if the MLRS gets into position and a Great Boy's only out to it is Ion Cannon, I mean, the 70 for 130 trade, that's got to benefit Alicia, right?
Building online. Unit ready.
It's going to come down to, again, we had this matchup, we had a similar matchup earlier where we had snipers versus shocks on this map, and I think that how that goes is going to be very important.
Unit ready.
Right, well, speaking of that, we see the snipers come up from the bottom. They're getting some shots against the missiles there, and they're going to go down. Great Boy going to try to hold on for dear life with these dogs, and they make do. So look at that. Wow, Great Boy coming back in with missile number 1.
Can we talk for a moment about how Great Boy is the new best player in Rivals?
Yeah, I don't know. We might boost his ego too much, and we can't do that, Blade.
That's true, you're right. I mean, to be clear, Great Boy's still an awful human being. Like, let's not... You know, we're not saying he's a good guy, just he's a good Rivals player, you know? He really is the new Agent Shadow.
Yeah, actually, you're not wrong about that. Well, and I mean, look at the way he's playing this game. Like, he's just playing the pads very well. Alicia here, she has lots of money though, right? Like, so she's got enough money to tech switch into Borka when she wants to. That said, though, I don't know if she does. Like, what reason would there be for her to make a Borka right now?
Really none, I think, at the moment. Grape is playing a very, very tempo game. You can see that. Even though there are snipers on the field, he's just jamming missiles forwards to kill the pit bulls. He wanted to force Alicia into this move, I think, of double sniper, and I think Alicia has played into his game here a little bit. He does kill the damage squad first. I personally would have flown past and killed the healthy squad first, because now there's a full sniper squad, which is going to be a problem. But you know, there is maybe Grape's worried about being accused of pop capping, but yeah, you could definitely go and kill the healthy squad first. That would be fine.
Well, and we might see a bit of a flip here as Alicia really using a lot of dogs, but now Grape coming in hot. We got a Borka.
It's gonna clear the board, clear the dogs.
Oh boy, there goes the first dog squad. Can he get the second? No, the missiles get chased away, and they are going to survive just long enough. And of course, pads are all that he needs. So this Talon about to go down here. No, sorry, the dogs are going to go down eventually, but the Pitbull not very fast to kill it. And same thing with the Zorka bomber. The Pitbull just isn't going to clear it very quickly. So it looks like this is going to be Alicia's missile as the Borka just about unloads. And well, there it is. Alicia clawing her way back in, and now this Hammerhead proving to be a big problem for Great Boy.
Actually, a big misplay there by Grape. He moved his Pitbull over to the left slightly too early. He only needed one shot to clear that Borka. I'm pretty sure the Pitbull would have cleared that Borka if he kept it on the right, and that would have bought him more time. Possibly even flipped the missile for a win there. But he moved it a little bit too early, and that cost him the missile. And you hate to see it, man. Grape had a chance there. This, I believe, is still best of 3. That could have just been the match.
Right? Yeah, it could have been over right there. So right now, Alicia really turtling up here on the left side of the top pad with both Pitbull and Sniper, and she has really good Sniper micro here. She's pulling them back just in time, make sure that they're not taking a lot of shots because they don't have a lot of hit points. So, of course, even a couple of shots here from these dogs could be a big problem. But look at this boost on the Orca Bomber, and this could be very, very timely as it clears 2 Pitbulls, and now Alicia's just going to make a push for all 3 pads. The Iron Cannon comes down, but of course, it doesn't really have good targets, so Alicia makes her way back and shows why she's this good and comes back with game number 2.
Well, again, I'm telling you, my prediction may be true.
Here we go, match point.
Hey.
Alicia versus the up-and-comer Grape, who has been taking names today. We do see White Coat Solomon again, so it is the same deck. Alicia, though, switching it up, not bringing Inferno, going for Shade this time. Is that going to be better? I feel like that's going to be worse. We know we're playing against GDI because Great Boy has his Nod win. I kind of think that Shade is notoriously good versus Nod, bad versus GDI. Like, so
yeah, that's right.
I don't know why she switched it up to Shade. Maybe she was thinking about Giga but forgot about faction supremacy.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I suppose if you're gonna play against Giga, I have to agree with you. I think the Shade Scorp deck is pretty solid, but against what Grape has brought, I mean, I don't know if she was expecting the same deck or maybe that she thought she would change. Like you said, maybe she forgot about faction supremacy, but Grape Boy's gonna have an easier time in this matchup with these decks.
Yeah, and Predator Tank would have been fantastic for Grape in this game. Like you were saying, Pred Shock. Alicia is notoriously weak to Predator Tank first missile. And then she'd have to go into air, which because she's got Shade instead of Inferno, she'd actually really struggle with that. But no, she gets the flamer on the pad. Oh, but nice move by the missiles there. What is Grape doing?
Ooh.
Put the missiles on the top three. There we go.
And the
finally gets there. And first
enough.
missile to Grape Boy. This is a big deal for Grape because he's a tempo deck. He does not want to go to missile number 3.
That's absolutely right. Well, and especially when the Shades start rolling out, I mean, you're right. They are going to have a tough time against the Pitbulls, and that's kind of where Great Boy can potentially make his way back into this game. It's just Alicia, she tends to get a lot of good value trades like she is right now. You see this tank micro where she's microing it through the Flame Troopers. Like, she knows how to make sure her units gain a lot of value. And so that could be a problem here for Great Boys. If he shuts her out of his economy, then, you know, maybe the Iron Cannon never comes out when he needs it. And on a 3-pad map, that's harder to execute, but still, it might be important.
The fact that Grape has shocks here is really good for him because he doesn't have to rely on flimsy air to take care of these flames. He can just play an infantry mirror match. And I don't think the Shade is ever actually going to come out. I don't see any reason for Alicia to ever make a Shade in this game.
No, I agree. And here we are moving into missile number 2. We see Talon's starting to come out in numbers with the Orcas from behind, but it wasn't timely enough. And look at the boosted flames just clearing up those missiles as well. Alicia taking advantage of a good situation.
Yeah, it's a classic Alicia scenario where she is a little weak in the early game. She plays quite greedy decks, but most of the time once she gets going, she just shuts people down super hard, and that's what we're seeing both games. If she gets a lead, she never really lets it go.
That's exactly right. And like, look at this here. I mean, again, both players here have pretty healthy economies. Great Boy with just over 100 tips, so does Alicia. So there is enough money in the bank there, but Great Boy really does need to get these Orcas rolling, because the thing is, these tanks have been just too dominant here for Alicia, shutting down these Pitbulls, which is really what Great Boy needs to contest these Shades, as well as the bikes.
Yeah, and here comes the first Phantom. I don't think Great Boy's too sad to see this, because he wasn't really planning to make any more Orcas anyway. And now there's a Phantom that just killed an almost dead Orca. I think we'll see Grape heavily invest in infantry here, because that's the thing Alicia's going to struggle the most to hard counter. Oh, Iron Cannon, is it going to be timed? Right,
he gets his Pitbull.
Iron Cannon, no, he kills his own Pitbull! He kills his own Pitbull! Oh my god, an absolute nightmare.
So now this Talon does stall the pad long enough, but we got the Shade coming in. The Sharks don't have enough movement speed to make it there, and there's game. Alicia takes him down. What a misplay at the end there to throw it, but was a close game overall. And you know what? Great Boy, he fought really hard, but Alicia's still proven to be too good, and well, Gazaria's proving us right.
Here we go, Taran versus Huck. And Taran in Gold League, we get that amazing Gold League beach background. Very nice.
Objective available.
And it's going to be Razorback Pitbull with Shocks. Really, it's just like a Mohawk Razorback deck. And then Hawkinator here playing Inferno, a pretty standard deck. And you know what? I mean, Taran, he has Pitbulls and missiles only deal with these Infernos. So Hawkinator, he's got a bit of an easier climb than Taran does.
Yeah, and I really like that Taran has brought the Mohawk here, because Huck always plays Phantom version. Always. Right, like yes. Huck never brings the stealth tank version. So Taran is like, oh, this guy's bringing a Phantom for sure. So my Mohawk isn't going to get hard countered. So I actually quite like that he's clearly assessed what his opponent is going to bring. He knows what his opponent does, so he's brought a Mohawk which doesn't have that hard counter.
Does Pitbull get him there, though? I guess that's the real question, right? And Taran, he does have incredible micro, and Pitbull's a unit where it has a high skill ceiling, right? The better you are with it, I mean, there's not too much that you're going to fall flat to, so could work out for him.
Yeah, Huck now goes straight into the Chuggy, but look at this. Chuggy can't kill dogs. What are you doing? What are you doing, silly Chuggy? You can't kill dogs.
Well, look at that. Yeah, getting some extra damage against the dogs. Of course, the lasers do make it onto that path. The Razorback coming in from behind. Will the dog go down just... Oh, it's so close, and it doesn't. Oh, man. The timing nearly worked out, but the lasers were down to 3 members. So that last 4th shot that really needed to go off to flip that pad wasn't there. So, well, that goes to Taran.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing to talk about with the way that squad reloading works. If you lose the back guy, it doesn't change the reload time of the other guys. It's a really weird mechanic. What happens is there's just a gap in firing when the 4th guy should be shooting.
That's correct, yes.
Which is a very weird mechanic, but that is, of course, how squad firing works. I think, actually, Hawkinator should have left the Chuggy to help out the lasers, right? So that he could one-shot the dogs.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And if he had done that, it would have been a lot better off. So here we see the Phantom comes out, does take out that Mohawk with the laser support. But, of course, Taran... This Phantom is now useless if Taran doesn't make more air. I don't know how Taran wins. He's actually, I just realized, he is playing Shock and Razorback. So he is available. He has a way to beat Phantom even with Razorback as his primary anti-infantry unit. So yeah, it really feels like he's tailored this deck for Huck's deck.
Okay, here we go. Missile number 2, and Taran, can he stall it out? Well, he gets the Pitbull onto the far left. The Phantom's going to hold for a little while. We got the Harvester pull from Hawkinator, though. Very nice play, but this Chem Buggy, of course, with no hit points under its belt, just goes down very quickly. And here, this Inferno needs to get onto a pad, so he does manage to clear that Pitbull, getting onto that pad there, but, oh, the Harvester came off. Very unfortunate there. Hawkinator nearly found his way back in, but Taran opens a hole in his strategy and takes that win. All right, here we go. Game number 2. Taran going up that first game. Hawkinator gonna try and find his way back in here. He's decided to play GDI out of the two factions. Of course, like we were talking about, Hawkinator had the option of going either one, but does need to find a win with GDI here. So here he's picked an interesting deck. The slingshot could actually be not too bad, I guess, on this map because of where you can place it. There's the possibility that you do stop the Inferno from getting at it. But that said, I mean, Taran, he's a terrifying player. So I don't know. I think this is probably Taran's game, but I think Slingshot's not totally insane on this map.
I think Slingshot is actually a reasonable shout. With the missile silo to protect the sling, it can cover basically all of the pads. And it's also quite, like, often an issue with Slingshot can be that it can be a little weak to things like Inferno, because the Inferno can one-shot it, same for Orca. But it's really hard to get at the Slingshot on this map. So it could be tough for Quasar. I like that Quasar just brought what is probably the best deck in the game. He knows he's got to win, he sniped a win, and now he's just going to play the best deck and hope that that just carries me through. Hawkinator bringing a slightly weird sniper sling, but on this map I think it makes some sense.
Look at this nice micro from Hawkinator, protecting those snipers to good effect. They did take some damage from the Chemlig. Unfortunately, they lost a model, but they're still doing their job there, just taking care of lasers. And right now with the Pitbull and Sniper combo, kind of holding down the fort. That lone laser goes down as well. And now Hawkinator here with all 3 pads using Pitbull to great effect, takes missile number 1.
Yeah, and of course we see here that normally Chuggy Laser will beat a Pitbull Orca deck, because they just can't break through the lasers. But Snipers gives you a way to clean up those lasers without having to interact with the Chuggy. Like, if you can keep the blocks going, which Hawkinator's doing very well, the Chuggy doesn't really get at the Snipers, and the lasers just get whittled down, which is... It's all about having something that kills the lasers without dying to the Chuggy, and Snipers can do that job if you protect them.
Now Hawkinator getting into position here with these snipers. Taran trying to find a way in and almost does there, getting a few shots off against the snipers. But again, Hawkinator with really good micro here, pulling them back, making sure that they didn't take too much damage. So all 3 models survived, which is a big deal. As you see here, they're taking down those lasers very quickly, and the bikes trying to get in the way as well. A nice boost on that Pitbull to get into position very quickly. See the snipers coming in from behind. That Chuggy goes down with one more shot. Pitbull actually clearing one for the first time in its life. And now here, Hawkinator looking great. He's got those snipers from behind. The lasers aren't going to be able to do it. And well, Hawkinator has done it, taking a game against Taran. Very well played.
Well, seems Hawkinator got a little bit mad or something, you know. He decided to get his game together. Ooh.
Oh, for sure he did, didn't he? Holy cow, wow. He played that so well. I mean, a sniper micro was just on point, and there was no way for Taran to compete against that, right? He needed his Infernos to do that, but the way he played it, he just never got there. So that was just very, very good gameplay from Hawkinator. Let's do it. All right, game number 3. This is going to be exciting.
Oh.
So we're down to Nod Mirror. Both players getting the win with GDI versus Nod, by the way.
Yeah, that's pretty unusual, actually. And, well, pretty interesting because we got a bit of a mirror going on, except Taran here very smartly bringing the Scorpion tank. That said, he doesn't have the important pairing of Laser with Inferno, so that could potentially fall behind for him. But I don't know. We'll have to see how this plays out.
Yeah, it's interesting that, I mean, Quasar, I think he could probably have predicted Huck bringing this same Nod deck that he always brings. The best thing you can play against this, in my experience, is Buggy Tank. If you open with Buggy, you win against the barracks opening, and then as soon as your opponent switches into bikes, you go Tank, which wins you against the War Factory as well. That forces your opponents to try and go Infernos. The Infernos are quite slow. You can push the Harvester with the tank advantage and just lock them out of the game. And if you play a Phantom as well, then even when they get to the Inferno, you still have a counter. So this isn't like a tailor-made deck to beat Huck, but he should have an advantage first missile. Having said that, not looking good for Quasar. Doesn't manage to secure that missile middle pad. Flamer's a little too slow, and Huck takes first missile. This is huge for Huck.
It is absolutely huge. You saw those bikes sneak up at the top as well. Taran not getting the block. Clearly, he was very focused on that middle pad. And, I mean, the flames were the right choice, but the timing just wasn't there. There were both lasers and militants there to absorb enough shots from them that the missile fired, and that's exactly what we saw. So Hawkinator goes up that important missile number 1.
Yeah, and here we see the first Inferno from Huck. He is well ahead in the Inferno matchup here. Quasar not even close to that air tower. Also, I note both players have not put their Harvester in the normal position in this map. They both let them go to default, which I'm not a fan of.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I guess they're playing a gentleman's game, right? Well, I guess there's not going to be any harvester pressure in this game. We got the best players in the game here, so don't really need to worry about it. But you're right, it is a little bit unusual to see that. And, you know, speaking of that, here we go. This Inferno trying to get into position here, almost getting a shot off. There goes. The bikes, however, do get 2 return missiles, so taking a little bit of damage. But again, that may not be important. A nice boost here on that Inferno. He needs to clear up these flame troopers, so here he gets the double shot, taking down the flames and the Scorpion tank. A huge beating there for Taran, and it's looking quite good here for Hawkinator. Will he be knocking Taran down to the lower bracket? It is so darn close, and look at that. The flames take out those bikes, getting lots of chip damage, and nice retargeting with the Inferno onto the flame troopers as these boosted lasers coming in from behind. We've got the flames swapping over there with the bikes moving over to the far left. We've got Kemba coming up from behind as well. These flame troopers aren't in position, though they can't get the block, and the lasers moving over to the far left. Can he do it? It's so darn close, and the nice movement on the Kemba moving it down just to get a few extra shots off on the flame troopers, but these bikes on the middle pad just aren't going down anytime soon, and the sweaty micro from Taran moving those flames just into position, but the Kemba managed to clear him out. But again, Taran, very smart player, moves those bikes into the same hex, making sure that he's not going to lose positioning here, and it has just been a huge firefight from both sides, and it's just going to be bikes from here on out. And so far, Hawkinator trying to get into position early, but these bikes here from Taran are also there to meet the day. They both are fastest, so it's really just going to be a bit of a stalemate here while we try and work it out. But can Hawkinator get a block? Nice movement, all those bikes on the bottom pad, stopping the bikes from getting there. Now the Inferno coming in from behind. Will it be enough? He does get that second flame hex, which is going to stop those flame troopers from potentially getting onto that middle pad. So could be a very important move there. But here, nice blocking on that bottom pad with the bikes. But look at the frustration. Hawkinator nearly missing the block there, and now getting onto that middle pad. The bikes trying to double team those bikes in the middle pad. Inferno coming with the boost. Is it going to be enough? The boosted bikes get a nice block on the flame troopers, and there it is. I think that's going to be game. Holy cow! What a fight! What a fight! Holy crap! Hawkinator taking him down. Holy shit, that was good. Woo! Oh man, I was wondering when that was going to end too. Dude, that was crazy.
Wow.
What a game.
That
oh my
was
God.
that was a lot of bikes. That was a lot of bikes, man.
Wow.
All right, we are ready to go. Alicia Destiny versus Serpus, game number 1.
Let's go.
Let's do this. All right. Probably the top 2 seeds in this tournament. Well, I guess maybe Taran fits his way in there, I suppose. Hard to say. But regardless, 2 of the best in the game here featured, and none other in the World Championships. I mean, you know what? Doesn't get much better than this. Oh, are we? We're having some matchmaking issues, it looks like.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, so we might have had a drop connection. Nope, never mind. Both players are in the game, so we are good to go. And all right, looking at these 2 decks.
Но мне еще 3 бутылочки, там 3 banочки надо.
Let's see, Militants and Wheels with Giga and Inferno on Alicia's side. A pretty top-heavy deck there. She's got 2 win conditions. And Serpus here playing Razorback Missile with Predator Tank. So pretty interesting, I gotta say. I don't know who comes out on top here. I really think that Alicia's deck, though, is going to be a big problem for Serpus.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is going to be once the Razorback gets phantomed, I don't see how Serpus wins anymore. That's really going to be his big issue.
Yeah,
although
I agree.
there is only rifles from Alicia, so he could just mirror match rifles.
Yeah, actually, we saw that a little bit right before where Great Boy tried to win the infantry war, and you know what? It might work, as here we are pulling into missile number 1. The missiles try to get onto the pad. Of course, the wheels get in the way, and we are seeing them go down, so now the missiles make it on top of the pad, and well, Alicia is just going to give it up. Ooh, that
Alright,
Giga Cannon coming up,
Serpus
though.
does take that first missile. Alicia, of course, without the Phantom, she is going to really struggle with this Razorback. That's going to be a problem until the Phantom comes out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, here the Giga Cannon getting its full charge is going to clear out all these missile troopers, and we see bikes coming in from behind. One more volley here. That Razorback will go down. So actually, though, doesn't quite get in place. Serpus here trying to back it off and protect it as much as he can. Ooh, nice. Look at that blocking with the missiles. Very good stuff. However, that Giga Cannon getting some good value, and here we're going to try and get a block. But the Phantom one-shotting the Razorback, that is a big beating.
Wow, did you see that boosted laser actually taking care of that Giga Cannon? I don't know if I've ever seen a missile trooper beat a Giga Cannon before.
It doesn't happen very often, does it? Especially not in a high caliber game like this. Ooh, speaking of boosts, here we go. We got the boost on the Pitbull, but the bikes fully unload on it. Having said that, though, there was that lone bike hanging around. I thought one more would go down, but finally does. So now we see a bit of a push here. We got the Militants on the bottom pad. A double missile coming in from behind, and the boost on the Militants, a very unusual boost, but here in this situation, might be all she needs. And here we got the missiles coming up on top, not getting the block from the missile or the Militants. However, that Phantom, though, goes down to the lone missile troop for the MVP here. But that said, I mean, of course, Alicia has both the pads. The Inferno here is going to clear up these missiles in one more shot. The Razorback, though, does clear up the Militants, but the bikes should make it in time. Just to stall the whistle a little bit longer here, and now this should be Alicia's missile.
Looks like
right,
it. There it is. Evens it back up. One missile apiece. And no real surprise there. Once the Phantom came out, Surpus was really in trouble. I believe that Phantom took out 2 Razorbacks. Alicia is going to need a new one, though. You can see this missile wall with the Phantom, with the Razorback, is tough. She's going for another Inferno instead. Very interesting. Oh, Surpus, though. Suicide's 2 missiles there. Not great for him. Hammerhead could be huge. Alicia is not in a position to fight this Hammerhead. Cleans up 1 Inferno. Gets the second as well. Absolutely huge turnaround for Surpus here. And here comes the JMB, but is it going to be enough?
Wow, the boost on that Hammerhead doing some absolute work as he got 2 for the price of 1. That is a great deal. I'll take that every day. Thank you very much. And now that Hammerhead hanging around just a little bit longer. Of course, the Phantom and the bikes will clear it. But that said, I mean, it's gained so much value here that it's done its work. So that's perfectly fine that it went down. That said, we are coming close to missile number 3. And Surface here, he's not looking too great. We got the double Pipple action going on. The Giga coming in from behind. The boosted missiles might be all he needs, though. And that said, we got the Phantom and the lone bike at the top. The Giga Cannon going down as well. Oh, very savage beating here for Alicia as the Pipple clears the bike on the top pad. We got enough units on the bottom to secure things down, and that's going to be missile number 3 and game number 1 for Surface.
Excellent work there from Surpus, just showing those strong fundamentals. I really think the key moment in that game was when there were triple missile Razorback and Alicia decided to commit to a second Inferno, and Surpus went Hammerhead boost, kill them both. And that was absolutely brutal. Alicia she almost came back when she got the Phantom out and was able to take out the Hammerhead and the Razorback, but that was such a beating. That put her so far back when both those... I don't think she was expecting a Hammerhead at all. Both Infernos dropped. Such a big swing, and Surpus is able to take that momentum and win the game with it. Alicia with GDI here after losing with Nod. Very interesting. Surpus, of course, playing Nod makes sense. Is Surpus going to play his classic deck? No, he's gone for a tank deck instead. And this is going to be a huge problem for him. Oh, this is such a bad choice because Alicia has brought this completely different deck. Although, wait, Alicia has MLRS again instead of Predator. I was going to say Surpus just can't beat Predator tank. But there isn't a Predator tank from Alicia. She's once again gone for MLRS. I think if she was Predator, I would put 100% my money on her. But with MLRS, it's made a lot closer. Still, I think she's favored. I just don't know if the MLRS has that like god tile that it can hold down the fort. But it is going to be very tough for Surface's deck to deal with.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, on peaks and valleys, this map has the 3 pads so far apart that you're right. There isn't such a good spot. But look at that snipe from the tank, by the way. Just have to point that out. That was a really good micro from Surface. But yeah, I mean, the MLRS here has a hard time getting in position. Because you see here, look at this. The Scorpion tank is holding down the fort. The MLRS isn't going to clear in one shot. We got the Pitbull coming in from behind, but another Scorpion tank is following right behind it. So, of course, this Pitbull here is just going to go down very quickly. And Alicia is really going to try and clear something out here, getting the boost on that MLRS. But, oh, hold on a minute. The flipperoonies!
Wow.
Look at that. The MLRS managed to snipe that one Scorp. So, well, I guess that's all she needed to win that missile.
I can't believe that MLRS actually managed to unload the full volley on that Scorpion.
I didn't think
that Scorpion was retreating, and she still managed to get all 3 missiles on it. That was huge, winning that missile. But you can see here, MLRS is just not very good on this map. Like, this is not a map you want to play MLRS on. The mobility of the bikes and the Scorpion, I don't see how... Like, if Alicia had Predator, I think she'd definitely win, but MLRS is so weak on this map, and look at this. Surface is just dominating her Harvester, cleaning up the MLRS. She's just locked in her base, and no missiles. Classic Alicia. She just assumes you'll never fall behind, but she has fallen behind, and it's looking very dangerous for her here.
Unit lost.
Ooh, that lone dog there, pop capping her just a little bit here, throwing Alicia off her game just a bit as this MLRS here not able to push up at all, and with one hit point, it's really not going to be able to get much work done. So now Alicia here just can't find her way back in, and that's going to be missile number 2 for Surface.
And if I'm not mistaken, that's... No, sorry, Alicia sniped that first missile. I thought the match had just ended. Because Alicia has been so locked into her base, but no, of course she did steal that first missile with the MLRS. So there is still hope. There is still a new hope. But I mean, is there though? There's 3 tanks and Alicia has a pit bull. This has to be over. I don't see how she ever comes back.
I mean, Alicia eating a little bit of her own medicine, right? As this is a typical situation for Alicia to be in, where she's applying all the pressure on the other side of the map. But here, Serpa's so far ahead, Alicia is not going to be able to build another harvester. The tanks are just over a number, and this is a very rare thing you see from somebody like Alicia, where she just spams units here at the last moment in desperation. As we see Serpa's pulling the harvester, of course, that's just going to be all he needs, and that's going to be 2 games to 0.
Wow, desperation play at the end there from Alicia, but just that MLRS, man. That MLRS was so bad on that map.
It was a bit, yeah, you're right. Like the MLRS choice was questionable. I mean, I guess she's trying to think of her outs, but like on this map, the MLRS is so weak. It's even if it is a hard counter to what you're playing against, the map is a bit of a hard counter to the units. So I don't know for that reason it was a good choice. And as we saw, it didn't play out well for her. So kind of unfortunate to see that, but well,
it didn't play out good for her at all. So I guess I was wrong. I was wrong.
I believe we're ready to fire it off.
Yep,
let's do it.
Let's go.
All right, here we go. I love that. So aptly put. Yeah, let's go indeed. And let's take a look at these decks. So Taran here, bringing a bit of a different choice than what we've seen so far, bringing a drone swarm paired up with Predator Tank, but he's also got snipers, so no dogs, which is a bit of an unusual choice. I mean, dogs are kind of like the best blocker. He does have Pitbull, though, so maybe that's what he's planning to do. But Victor here playing Giga Cannon, and here on Fighting Pit, I mean, Giga's just going to be so good, especially the fact that Taran doesn't have Orca.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough for Taran to beat this Giga, and this is a great Giga map as well.
It is, yes. Yeah, and I mean, look at this, a kind of a showcase of how this match is going to start off. Victor pushing those snipers back. Taran only building into his barracks, so he's going to rely on these missiles as the blocker to start off with. Again, doesn't have dogs, so this is kind of what we expect to see. And here we go, he's gotten into his war factory, so we're going to start to see the Pitbull sniper pairing, but Victor now goes into Giga, and really, there's not a lot to threaten that. There are the missiles, of course, and the Pitbull, but once you get it well protected, this Giga Cannon is just going to take numbers. Oh, look at this. We got that boost on the Pitbull, but look at how fast it went down. Only 1 shot it got off. So, yeah, that Pitbull just gets absolutely wrecked. And now we try to see some movement here on the Giga. It gets onto the bottom right, clearing up those missiles, and the snipers really not going to be able to get into a good position because the Giga Cannon, with his damage, is going to be enough to push that back as well. So Taran here just kind of twiddling his thumbs, doesn't really know what he should be doing. He's going to try and stall the missile, but really it's just a matter of time here as this Giga Cannon starts to do some work, clearing up those missiles, and well, he pushes off the militants to the far left, so that gives him the 3rd pad and missile number 1.
Yeah, and this Giga looking very strong. I don't know how Taran's going to take it down. And again, I don't like this deck very much. It's especially on this map, like you don't really want to be, I mean, I guess you are a 2-ranger on a 2-range map, but like Giga is the king of 2-range, right? So if you play on a 2-range map, you've got to have Giga in your mind. You've got to think, man, there's going to be a Giga, that's very likely.
Yeah, look at that first Giga going down, though. Taran opening a hole into that Giga Cannon, managing to get it through the blocks of the lasers with that extra movement speed on the Pitbull. But, you know, he only got down the first one, right? So here comes number 2, starting to clean up the Pitbull here from behind, and we see bikes coming out in numbers as well. And the first Predator from Taran, this is exactly what he needs. This Predator tank has to get into position here to throw this Giga Cannon off track, but so far it's not really getting there. We see it moving back and forth, getting out of range of the Giga Cannon, so that's really good. But these attack bikes are a reasonable choice. That said, though, he's going to be able to move these drone storms over here, and Taran, he's going to comfortably get onto all 3 pads. So there it is, making his way back in this game with missile number 2.
Very nice play from Taran there to get back into it. Really very nice Predator play here. The fact that Predator can 2-shot that Giga, paying absolute dividends in this game. Victor not managing to really get that solid wall of units in front of the Giga Cannon that is required. But here the Giga's going to pressure the Halve, and Taran is so weak to this. What does he do?
Yeah, this is a big deal, right? He gets that Harvester kill, and then on top of that, you look at Taran's economy. He doesn't have a lot of money, but Victor does. That said, though, the Giga's fully charged here, so I think it's going to win against these missiles, but oh, it was so close. Nearly got there. But that said, I mean, Victor has so much money, he just spits out 2 more Giga Cannons, and even got that Harvester kill as well. So only slow Taran down for just a smidge of time, but hey, we are coming into missile number 3, and that might matter a big deal, as look at these double Giga Cannons just getting some absolute wreckage against those missiles. And here comes the bikes getting in the way, and that's going to be all she wrote as Victor takes game number 1 against Taran.
See it. Again, it feels like that one was really about the decks. Quasar could not deal with Giga Cannon.
So we are here on Tug of War, which, you know, a very aptly named map for a description of this series, because it has been a tug of war, as we're looking at 2 giants in the game face off against each other. And let's take a look at these decks. So here, Taran has switched gears from Victor. He's decided to go Giga, which is actually very good on this map. And I'm a little surprised that Victor here has opted to go for Predator Tank with Solomon. You know, I guess he wasn't expecting Giga Cannon from Taran.
Yeah, I can't imagine he was ever expecting Giga Cannon there. Taran is not really a known Giga Cannon player. He is known for playing different decks, but Giga Cannon is really more of a, you know, like wait, hang on a second. Yeah, sorry. Giga Cannon is really more like a targeted deck choice, right? Like a targeted unit.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be tough here for Victor, as he's going to have to rely heavily on Predators, which will win him the early game. I mean, against the Chuggies, but once the Giga Cannons start to roll out, there's nothing else other than Ion Cannon for Victor to try and potentially regain that ground. So, I don't know, it could look pretty tough here, especially as we're moving into missile number 1, and this Ken Buggy here just doing a lot of work, clearing up these Shock Troopers. The Pitbull, of course, does do a reasonable job, but it doesn't kill it long enough. So there we go, then now it finally goes down, the Pitbull dies, and the Predator Tank just can't get there in time without that boost. So missile number 1 goes to Taran.
Yeah, and of course this again is a fantastic Giga Cannon map. Again, just feels like you've got to bring something that beats Giga. Victor at least has brought a Solomon. His deck is not a Solomon deck. His deck is a Jackson deck. But I believe he's brought Solomon, A, because Victor likes Solomon, but B, because he wants to not just be auto-lose to Giga Cannon. This does give him a way to snipe a Giga right at the end of a missile. So it's possible that's his plan. Maybe he's hoping he can get there. But look at his money. I mean, this is why this is not a Solomon deck. He's got 40 Tib.
Yeah, those Preds are expensive. It's 70 Tib a pop. I mean, and he kind of needs them to take down these Giga Cannons. But look at what's going on here. This Giga Cannon, yeah, it's got low hit points, but you know what? It doesn't matter, because it's just going to continue to gain infinite value here with the lasers in front. And Taran doing a great job of getting those blocks, making sure that the Predator Tank doesn't get in place. But here comes an Ion Cannon, and then we'll see here it's going to clear up that Giga, but the lasers come in behind it. So that's too bad, because the Ken Buggy there is going to win the day, and that is going to be game number 2 for Taran.
Yeah, and Quasar, a very talented player. He knows his opponent has Solomon. He's not about to just put himself in a position where Solomon cleans up everything. So he aggressively moves that Chuggy around. He wants to be ready against an Ion.
Yeah, that is all we're waiting on, and then we're gonna get into. Oh, he says it's crashed. Okay, so we're just gonna wait a couple more minutes. We should be underway very quickly, as we see.
Establishing battlefield control.
Oh, here we go. Right. Victor Bansama taking on Quasar, match point.
3.
And it is, in fact, a GDI mirror. So we're going to see a bit of an odd deck from both of these players. We see Taran going Borka, and then Victor here again playing this Missile Shock, Dog Pitbull, Talon, Orca, Solomon deck, which, yeah, I'm not so sure. Like, it's been very popular, right? Like, we've seen many players bring this exact list. So there must be something to it, but that said, I mean, it's kind of been underwhelming in my opinion.
Yes. I agree. It's just like a new and not very good, in my opinion, Reb Solomon. And Reb Solomon was never even that good. Even at the peak of Reb Solomon, it wasn't that good a deck.
Well, look at this initial engagement here. So Taran here is spitting out his barracks, so he's gone into riflemen and missiles, and Victor, of course, going into his dogs and shocks, cleaning that up pretty quickly. But that said, Taran here's tech switched over into his helipad. A little surprising, because, of course, against GDI, that's kind of not where you want to be, especially with this Pitbull hanging around. So now he's going to try and get a push around the middle pad using double dogs here to take care of those 3 missile squads, getting them into position very early. And of course, the Razorback here can't shoot against them, so that's a bit of a problem there. And this Pitbull here getting a few shots off against the Razorback, Razorback. The missiles will clear it up in one more shot. And these missiles here are actually getting some pretty good value as Victor here is trying to go into his own shock. But now finally with the Razorback gone down, he should be able to use these shock troopers to get into position. So there we go. Swapping them in back and forth and getting the dogs from behind as well. But the boosted Razorback coming in and getting some real good damage off. Those shock troopers going down very quickly as we see the Razorback moving over to the far left pad, getting that pad as well. And that is going to be missile number 1 for Taran.
Wow, Taran really fighting for his life here. I mean, he did not expect to be in this position in the tournament, and he really wants to make his mark. Interesting to see the Borka from Taran. I really feel like he needs to just make a Predator here. Like, that's what I would be looking to do.
I agree with that, yeah. Yeah, Predator is all he really needs, right? Like, the Orcas are going to be a bit of an issue, but as long as he can protect them with missiles, which is what he's done so far, I don't see how Missile Razorback doesn't win this.
Yeah,
okay,
I mean, even just like Razorback Missile is going to be very good. But here, Victor's going to take down this Harv. This matters because Quasar is low on cash. Like, Victor doesn't need the cash, although it does give him a free Iron Cannon, basically. But the loss of money for Quasar is huge. He's kind of broke.
He is. He does have 100 TIB, but you're right. Like, he needs to spend at least 40 of that to get into the War Factor. So his first Predator costs 110. That is a lot to spend on that first tank, especially if he needs it. And you know what? Victor also flushed with cash. He spent a lot on this Orca and these shocks, but he still has enough for an Ion Cannon left over should he need it. And here, look at this. The missile wall coming out and the shocks just getting absolutely demolished. This Razorback here getting good value, and it's kind of creating a bit of a problem here as we see Taran just getting a lot of value out of these missile troopers, which is exactly what Razorback Missile did well.
Yeah, and Taran looking really strong here. Oh, here's the Iron Cannon, though. It's going to be huge. Oh, it doesn't quite clean up those missiles on the middle. That is a big deal. Victor needed to clean up that squad to get back in. That Pitbull that he preserved does not live long. And that was it. That was his big play. He's down to 20 TIB now. Quasar flush with cash. I think Quasar might have it. That Iron Cannon just didn't do enough for Victor.
Oh, look at this. The boosted Pitbull here chewing up through the Talon. It looks like Taran's got this pretty easily. That Pitbull should last long enough. Yeah, there it is. The Talon really was a good tool there. Of course, Talon beats both the missiles and the Razorback, but the problem was positioning. You know what? Taran just had way better positioning throughout this entire game, so he takes it.
I agree. Absolutely.
All right.
Let's go.
Let's go. Serpus versus Huck next. Winner bracket finals. I don't know if this is best of 5 yet. This might be best of 5. We will get confirmation from Kenny. But we might now be at best of 5. And we are on Orbit again, Sarpedon's favorite map.
This is a ratings disaster.
Oh, wow. You love the emotes early on. And, well, deck differences between the two are pretty great. We got the, basically, it's Flame Scorp from Serpus here, which, pretty good choice on Orbit. And then Hawkinator here going into Inferno, which, I mean, Phantom, I think, makes a lot of sense in terms of, well, that's what he plays. But Phantom, actually, I think, makes more sense than Stealth Tank, potentially. But, I don't know. I mean, the Tank deck probably is a better choice here than the Inferno deck. Would you agree?
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Inferno deck is just a more powerful deck. But on this map, the Tank deck seems like a good choice. Tank is also very good against Chuggy first missile, so Victor should have a strong advantage first missile. He isn't doing a lot of charging, though. Now, when the Flamers come out, he'll be able to really take control. But it's so late. We're, like, approaching 50 seconds. Huck we could see a first missile Inferno, which is going to be huge if Huck can pull it out.
As you said, we're just about under halfway through this first missile. It's been stalling for quite a bit. We got a minute on the clock, and we're not even over halfway yet. So lots of time here. As Blade said, there could be an Inferno coming up pretty quick. We do see that his air tower's been built. He has 70 TIB saved right now, so he's just getting enough time on the clock here. But you know, here we are. We're getting very, very close here to missile number 1, and that Inferno needs to come out much sooner. As we see, it's going to get there, but it's really not going to be able to take a pad. So this is going to be missile number 1 for Serpus.
And there it is. No surprise to see missile number 1 go to Serpus. The tank is very, very good. Big advantage, I think, on first missile. Now the Infernos come out, Huck can bring this one back to his side. He needs to clean up the Flamers with Inferno and make lasers, which is exactly what he's doing. You see he's got an Inferno, triple laser. He's focusing down that Flamer, even though there's easier targets, because that's the one he wants to kill. Serpus is responding by going for the Phantom, but look at how much more map control Huck has whilst that Phantom isn't out.
Look at that. Surface driving those bikes right into that reloaded Inferno. And now he does have enough money to get to that first Phantom with the boost as well. Of course, he's going to one-shot it, even though actually would have one-shot it regardless. There we go. Look at that Micro using the front Raider on that Phantom. Does manage to get it, but that Phantom took so many shots from those lasers that it's really just one shot away from going down itself.
Yeah, but of course the important thing is that the Inferno is gone, which means that Cerberus can go back to being a tank flamer deck, which is what he wants to do. Tank flamer dominates Huck if Huck doesn't have that Inferno. So Huck needs to kill this Phantom, then make an Inferno to kill flamers, and it's just not clear he has enough time anymore.
That's right. Look at this. We're getting pretty close to missile number 2. Lots of time on the clock in this game. We're over 2.5 minutes into it. But that said, here we go. This is all she wrote potentially for Hawkinator as he is down a missile. So this Phantom here will be able to hold a pad, but we've got the Chem Buggy going to the top pad. Bikes are on the bottom right. So the extra movement speed very impactful. And that the Scorpion will clear the bikes in time, and it doesn't. The Flame makes it on the pad as well. Oh, the flips. That's going to be Surface's missile. End game.
Time for you to
And there we saw, there was a brief moment there where it looked like Huck was gonna take that missile, but as predicted,
yes.
the tanks just took over, and it wasn't possible for Huck to defeat those tanks without the Inferno. Taking out that Inferno, even though it was an even trade, in air quotes, for the Phantom, not even, right, because the Inferno had killed a bunch of stuff, a massive down trade, it doesn't matter, because all he needed to do was remove that Inferno from the board and put Huck in a position where he couldn't rebuild it. And I think a huge problem here was the map for Huck. Like, Orbit is not where you want to be doing that. Surplus' deck made a lot more sense on that map. So,
Yep, I agree.
I think that's really what it came down to. And you called it at the start, Jeffrey. You said, I think Tank is better for this map, and it was. And the Infernos didn't cut it. Absolutely, let's do it.
Ooh, I was born ready.
Battlefield control.
Let's do
Surplus
this.
versus Huck. And also, I'd like to take a moment to give a shout out to Huck, of course. Because this is, I believe, the deepest we've seen him go in a tournament. He has played in previous tournaments, but I think that he's finally getting over those tournament nerves. If anyone here has played in a tournament, you will know that the first couple of times you play a tournament, you play a lot worse than you should, because it is a nerve-wracking experience. Once you get a few tournaments under your belt, you get the hang of it, you start to play properly during tournaments and on screen and so on, and then you can really showcase your skill, and I think that's what's happening here. I think Huck has finally got to a point where tournaments don't bother him anymore. He's just playing well in tournaments, and that's why we're seeing him so deep in this tournament, because he's finally actually showing his true skill.
Another thing you should be aware is that when Blade starts to compliment you, you lose. Well, that's what we've seen today. So be careful.
Oh man, I love it. No doubt, eh? Well, and you know, the compliments are many here for Hawkinator as he's getting a little bit of an early advantage. He's pushed back these Predator Tank and Dogs with the lasers. But
whenever
now
Blade starts to compliment, they get sloppy. They get sloppy.
Yeah, right. The ego starts to go to their head a little bit, you know.
Yes, yes. Especially when you know things like I'm #1 fan. It doesn't take
poor
long.
Oaken. Rest in peace, my sweet prince.
Oh, look at
So,
that.
of course,
Well,
we
missile
see
number
here-
1 for Surface. Very
This is
comfortable missile home
like
as well.
the same deck from Huck, and we're seeing exactly the same outcome. Surplus has a tank. Tank beats this deck first missile. So Hawkinator has to go for a fast Inferno. Surplus again brings the Hammerhead because he knows that Huck loves this deck. If he can shut down this Inferno, we're going to see the same thing happen this game as happened last game. The difference is, I believe this time the map advantage is much less for Surplus. This map is still spread out, but Infernos are still really good because they can cross between the pads very quickly, unlike on Orbit where it takes a long time to get between those pads.
Oh, look at this. This
Oh,
Hammerhead
cute
coming
front
out
raider
and
micro
taking
again
names.
from Surplus. Surplus with the little jiggle on the aircraft with front raider to abuse that. Really love to see it.
Really great micro there. And here we are coming into missile number 2. We got the boost on the lasers. Very good boost there. It's going to clean up that pitbull. And also the Chem Buggy makes it in time to the top pad. So stop the shock from getting there, which gives missile number 2 to Hawkinator.
It's funny how like reminiscent this is of the other game, right? Because same thing is happening. Tank wins first missile. Inferno comes out. As long as Inferno's in play, Huck is winning. Surplus makes his big anti-air, takes out the Inferno. Then he can start taking over the map again. But Hawkinator had such a lead from that first Inferno, he was able to convert it into a missile win. Now we need to see, now that we're this deep in the game, both players can afford their air, we need to see who's going to come out ahead in the Hammerhead versus Inferno matchup. And this right here is a perfect example of when the Stealth Tank is vastly superior. Because you cannot chase an Inferno against a Stealth Tank, it'll one-shot you. But you can chase into a Phantom.
Oh, look at that. Speaking of chasing, that Inferno really tried to get at those shocks, but the boost and Hammerhead comes in hot, taking it down. That second Inferno, though, comes in from behind, and we got bikes left behind as well to start chasing the Hammerhead back. So the Hammerhead is going to get another shot here, clear that Inferno, one more shot, and these bikes here aren't going to last much longer, and almost getting the block against those militants. So this is just going to be a bit more solid time for Hawkinator as he tries to find his way back in. Those bikes down at the bottom could be a bit of a liability as the Pitbull might make it onto that pad, but the boosted bikes, nice play there, as it's going to clear up that Pitbull very quickly. That said, he does need to get onto the pad here, so he clears up that Pitbull with the lasers and manages to get back up on there. And now that lone shock trooper might be a bit of a liability, as his attack bikes actually have reasonable infantry damage, and one more volley, it's going to go down, and then he's going to win that pad. A nice block with the bikes against a boosted Pitbull, but it's not going to be quite enough. We see the bikes come out in numbers here, clearing up that Pitbull finally, and getting the block against those missiles as well. Look at the sweaty multi.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! Wow, the dancing! Holy cow!
Oh my god!
And Hawkinator comes out on top in game number 2. You'll love to see it. Wow. That's crazy.
Wow. Such good play from Huck there. Really just fantastic play from Huck in that last missile. I thought for sure Serpus had him. When the Hammerhead came down and killed both Infernos, I thought Huck was really in trouble. But he manages to eke his way out, sneaks onto pads repeatedly. Serpus misses a small block. As you were saying, that shock trooper was going to go down, but it was going to take 2 volleys. And I think he might have fired the missile before the second volley hit if he hadn't managed to sneak on. Crazy game, man. Absolutely crazy.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Let's do this.
Let's go.
Let's do it. Game number 3. All to play for still. Only 1-1. Could go anywhere. And we do see a GDI mirror. Now, I have heard in chat repeatedly that Huck is unbeatable with GDI. Huck, if he plays GDI, will supposedly win every game.
Well,
Huck, I believe, I think he might be undefeated with GDI this tournament. So here we go. Let's see if Serpus has the stones to defeat the GOAT of GDI right now.
Yeah, here we are in Lone Spire. Hawkinator bringing Orca, Slingshot, Pitbull, Sniper deck, which, I mean, Lone Spire, I guess it's pretty decent for the snipers. I mean, you could put them close to the middle pad. They do have the option of, firing at the middle and the top pad a little bit. They also can fire across the river on the top pad. So there actually are some good spots here for snipers. That said, though, these Predator tanks could be a real beating for Hawkinators early game.
Yeah, this rapid tank that Serpus has gone, this has become like a reasonably common meta play. When you go dog and you see your opponent make a Pitbull, instead of making your own Pitbull, you just go straight into tank. Hawkinator's gone straight into Orca, which I think is a good choice. I think it's better than going into the missiles here. But Serpus, immediate Hammerhead, this is going to be a huge problem for Huck. Huck does manage to almost kill that tank, but Pitbull just can't really fight Predator in the way that Bite can fight tank.
Oh, look at that snipe from the Predator, locking on to the Pitbull and taking it down. Yeah, like you pointed out, the Orca managed to get 3 out of 4 shots off on the Predator tank, so nearly taking it down. But even if it had, Predator tank has a lot of hit points. It'll survive an Orca volley and still have enough hit points left over to take care of a few things left behind. So this Hammerhead was a giant beating there. Losing that Orca means that Hawkinator's going to have a real hard time contesting this Predator tank. Look at this. I mean, it's taken so many shots, but you know what? It's just really surviving well against these missiles.
Here comes the first Borka. Is that going to clean up those snipers? Look at that side swipe damage, so reduced from before. Serpus forced to actually boost to even kill the snipers. And I mean, he does get them, but for 140, it's tough to feel like you're living the dream there.
So the Borka now reloaded, getting some more shots off, clearing that Pitbull, and this is kind of what it does well, right? Denies areas. It's kind of doing that at the moment, but here we are. It's not reloaded for this missile, and now we got a Predator tank pushing onto the middle pad. The missile's getting a block there, but we see the Pitbull move up from Hawkinator on the top left. Nice micro there, and is it going to be long enough? Oh, wow! The Borka nearly reloaded in time, but timing wasn't on Serpus' side, so Hawkinator gets missile number 1.
Yeah, and I think Serpus is probably a little disappointed with how that went. Like, felt like he should have had it, but Borka just didn't reload in time, and that pad is held by little weenie boys long enough.
Yeah. Well, look at this here. So Serpus here going into massive Pitbulls, which, you know what? That's got to be a good thing for Hawkinator, because, of course, these Orcas can clean them up, and as long as he's got his own Pitbulls left behind, he'll be able to shut them down. So that's kind of what we're seeing here. And economy-wise, not a huge difference between the two players, but this Orca being left behind, that is a big problem.
Yeah, and who we see, like, because Serpus doesn't have the missiles with one of these Alicia-style decks, having to make a 90 every time your opponent makes an Orca is a little awkward, especially if you don't even get the Orca with it. It was okay that like the first time it was a big tempo play, but now it just feels like you're really hurting when you have to make a 90 there.
And Hawkinator clutched this victory and go to match point. He blocked with the snipers, and that's all she wrote. Hawkinator coming in with 2 victories. Now moves on to game number 4, and he's got to be feeling pretty good about himself as he just won that game.
And there it is, Hawkinator, unbeatable with GDI, and he has his nod win, so theoretically, Serpus is screwed. Like,
because now we can play GDI again, so
Huck can just GDI to the moon, you know, like.
We've just decided the tournament, guys. It's over. I mean, Hawkinator's winning it with GDI.
Well, hang on now. This is only the winners bracket final. There's another match. He might not get another win with nod for the rest of the tournament. You don't know.
We can start.
Wow. All right. Well, game number 4. Let's jump right into it.
So Serpus does go back to nod. Hawkinator with the GDI again.
Same deck, probably. Yep, exact same deck. But Serpus playing the Phantom variant with Inferno. A little bit surprising, actually. I guess, well, the Slingshot never did come out, so maybe Serpus isn't going to anticipate that whatsoever. And the Phantom, I suppose, is going to counter the Orca a little bit better, so I definitely see it for that reason. That said, though, I don't think the Slingshot reasonably counters Inferno, even on this map with the missile silo in the middle. It's still a fairly open map, so it looks like it's going to be a tough uphill climb for Hawkinator, but, you know, he's got the gam, so we'll see.
Yeah, of course, we do have those snipers once again. Huck on his, I want to say comfort deck at this point. Feels like he plays this thing constantly.
He must, yeah.
Serpus going for Phantom Inferno, probably because he's scared of Orcas. I mean, Orcas have been giving him the business lately, so I can definitely respect that choice.
Yeah, I mean, here, so the Sniper's coming out for Hawkinator. We've got the Pitbull to support it as well. The Pitbull will have enough time here to clear out this attack bike. So it really, he's just going to move these Snipers down to the bottom, and this Pitbull is in position to stop the bikes from getting on there, but the bikes will clear in one volley. So Hawkinator smartly pulls in Pitbull from behind, but we got the blocks against the Sniper on the bottom pad, so that's going to be missile number 1 for Serpus.
Yeah, and of course, a classic scenario of how do you ever beat Nod there that we saw. Like,
yep.
GDI just really struggling with the power of Nod. Serpus played well, obviously, played great. But he also just has Nod versus GDI, and it's so tough for Hawkinator to overcome that advantage.
It is. The front-loaded damage of the attack bikes is so valuable, right? Burst damage in this game is just superb. And that's exactly what we saw there, plus the fastest movement speed. They
bikes
really
are just amazing.
Well, speaking of
amazing,
Inferno
out now as well for Serpus. This is a big deal. He really wants to get these snipers with it, though. Snipers are an awkward one to kill with Inferno, because you do have to send your Inferno in a dangerous way. If he loses this Inferno here, Serpus could be in a lot of trouble. And he's running out of time. Like, he needs to be on these pads right now.
Oh my gosh, this is all she wrote, potentially. Well, the Pitbull nearly makes it onto the pad. We got the block against the lasers as well in the top. Sniper's coming from behind, should clear up these lasers, but we see Serpus using that dancing to good effect. And we see the Inferno going up onto the top pad with the boost as well, getting that shot off against the missiles. They don't return fire enough. Clear it, and so with the blocks in the bikes,
Serpus
managed to take it 2 in a row.
Wow.
And there we see Hawkinator does fall whilst playing GDI. It is tough,
ever. Man.
It's super hard to play GDI against Nod. I'm not surprised that he couldn't win that one.
Again, when Blade says someone is unbeatable or is too good, they fall.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. That is kind of what happened there. All right, well, I'll get the casting underway here. So deck-wise, we see Hawkinator playing Scorp Wheel Flame with Stealth Tank to support. And then Serpus bringing a more even-keeled GDI deck. He's brought Rifleman, a Missile with Shocks, Pitbull, Predator, and Mohawk with Jackson. So, of course, between the two decks, the Mohawk will fall to the Stealth Tanks. That's definitely going to happen. The Scorpion Tanks, so, I mean, it's kind of hard to say, right? Like, Serpus has the better units. He's got Predator and Mohawk. The Predator will be better against the Scorp. And then really, it comes down to the infantry war, I think. It's just going to come down to Shocks versus Flames. But the important difference here, Hawkinator does have access to wheels, so that may play an important role in this game.
Yeah, playing Rifle Shock, this is like almost a BR deck. This deck actually really struggles with just Flamers. If Huck made just Flamers the entire game, Serpus doesn't really have infantry to break it. He'd have to try and use Mohawks to break it.
Right. Yeah, the Mohawks would be an important tech tool. It's just the stealth tank, right? And I guess it kind of depends on how this works out. We'll see. Look at that boost on the Mohawk, trying to get some extra damage here. And in kind, Hawkinator responds with a boosted Scorpion tank. These bikes here might actually clear up the Mohawk, but seems that the boost on the Mohawk allowed him by enough time. But that said, a stealth tank comes in right behind, shutting that down. And we got the Harvester pull as well. This is missile number 1 for Hawkinator.
And Hawkinator, of course, with the Nod advantage here. Serpus, because he was forced to play Nod last game, or he felt compelled to play Nod last game, has to try and win with GDI here. And Middle Oasis is not a map you want to be playing GDI on. It's definitely a Nod-favored map. And we see that here, the GDI versus Nod. Nod is so favored, and Hawkinator is just kind of shutting him down. He's got Harvester kills. Serpus hasn't even managed to get his tanks out yet, which is super important in this matchup.
Absolutely. We see the stealth tank just really doing a lot of work, as it means that the Mohawks just can never come out. And also with the Harvester kill under his belt, and that Harvester is really low, so even a stealth tank volley will come and clear that up. So here he goes. It's going to clear it up, and that's going to be an extra bit of tib for Hawkinator, which, you know what? Coming into the second missile could be important.
Yeah, and also it's massive. The major thing here is that Serpus loses a lot of tib. He doesn't have time to rebuild his Harvester. Here comes another Stealth Tank. That Mohawk's going to get shut down. Mohawk, a very poor choice against Stealth Tank, of course. I don't see how Serpus gets back into it. I think he's going to the lower bracket.
It looks that way. We see the boosted flames clearing up those missiles, and now the second set of flames making its way down to clear up the second set of shocks. And the Stealth Tank getting a few extra shots off against it means those flames coming on will win against it. And the Heart Pull again? Oh man, that is game for Serpus, and Hawkinator takes it.
Let's get underway. Winner of this will... Oh, sorry guys, this is still up. Winner of this will face... what's his face? Serpus. The winner of this will face Serpus.
3, 2, 1. New objective available.
And here we are on Orbit. So, of course, we've seen a lot of different answers to the problem that is Orbit. And here, Taran is bringing another interesting choice, which is APC. That, you know, I got to say, the APC a bit of an interesting choice because tanks are so good here. And Paplagon, I guess he doesn't play a lot of tanks. But, I mean, I don't know. I think the APC Mohawk's choice is a little bit unusual.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think it's again the idea that he's playing... Oh no, he's playing with Paplagon now. I was going to say, of course, Huck always plays the Phantoms, but Paplagon doesn't. Paplagon plays all kinds of things. In fact, Paplagon is known... His Nod deck has a Stealth Tank in it. Like, this is his Nod deck. This is the Nod deck Paplagon plays the most. And it's great on this map. So I think Taran bringing Pitbull was a fantastic choice. But yeah, the Mohawk doesn't make any sense to me. Also, I think he really wanted Shock Troopers here, but maybe Drone Storm is good enough.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, the first Drone Storm's coming up. They're going to try and go up to that top pad, but, well, the Paplagon just moves his militants out of the way. The Drone Storms, of course, meet their demise with the bikes there, so they're really not going to get onto a pad here. That said, they're going to make it on the bottom right, and the boots of Pitbull coming in from behind as well. A very, very desperate play there from Taran, but it might be what he needs. And that Stealth Tank unloading on the Drone Storm instead of the Pitbull, very big deal, as the Pitbull will last long enough. We got the Mohawk coming up to the top, though. Is it going to last long enough against the bikes? And it does! Oh, look at that. The time to kill just wasn't working out there for Paplagon, and Taran goes up missile number 1.
Yeah, and I'm actually surprised to see this. I thought Paplagon's deck seemed fantastic for the map and matchup. He's got the Seth, he's got the Stealth Tank for the Mohawks. I kind of can't... I don't even know how Paplagon lost that missile. Feels like he really should be heavily favored on that first one.
Well, bikes, you know, I mean, usually they're good enough, especially on a map like this, but yeah, they just kind of fell a little bit flat there, and the drone swarms were pretty impressive. There was a bit of desperate playing going on at the end there, but yeah, I got to agree with you. A little bit surprising there to see Taran go up with that first missile.
Oh, and this is a bad drill pod into a defending missile and APC. Loses a whole trooper before they even come out of the pod.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. I mean, the Seth drill pod costs 70. It's pretty expensive, and the flame troopers are a bit of an important switch here, as we'll be able to deal with these missiles. And Taran, he does have drone swarm, of course, but they don't shoot through the expensive flames all that quickly, so he kind of needs them. And now these APCs coming out in big numbers. We got that second one coming up onto the top pad, and really at this point in the game, all they're going to do is just hold the pads. And we see the drone swarm doing the same thing as well. Eventually, they are going to clear that up, but the stealth drill, oh man, that stealth tank nearly made it in time. Gets onto the pad, installs it, but of course the drone swarm coming in from behind. That should be enough. The shade, though, bit of an awkward counter, and the drone swarm actually clears up the stealth tank. What a beating. And there it is, Taran with missile number 2.
I gotta say, man, it feels like once the game gets rolling, PatGarin pretty heavily favored. Sorry, Taran heavily favored, because the APCs and Pipples are so good versus Paplagon's Nod deck.
That's
but that
true.
Mohawk is so bad, and it's just crazy to me that he wasn't able to take the first game with the stealth tank against the first missile. Sorry, with the stealth tank against the Mohawk.
Yes.
But I do think
exactly.
the longer the game goes, the more Taran is favored, because the APCs and the Pipples are so good versus Paffles.
Well, that's what happened. Yeah, 2 APCs on the field. Like, you could just see it from there, how long it was taking for him to clear an APC. And he was just having a hard time going through one of them. And then a second one was just behind it. So, yeah, it looked like from there, it was going to be very tough for him to overcome that. And that's kind of what played out. But, well, we got lots more games to go. So, it has been real interesting so far. We'll have to see what kind of response we get in the next game.
All right, he finally joins. We are ready to go.
Let's go.
He's
been thinking hard about this deck. Let's see what he's come up with. Oh, and Paplagon's gone with Nod. This might have scuppered Quasar. He might be planning to beat an APC deck. I would definitely have been planning to beat an APC deck. Yeah, he has. Look at this. He's definitely been planning to beat APC. He's brought Buggy Tank, which I think is a pretty good choice against Paplagon's APC. But Paplagon's thrown a curveball and just loaded up his Nod again.
Yeah, and interesting, right? He's got Seth. Both players have Seth. So, of course, that kind of equalizes a little bit. And part of the difference there, of course, is going to be who gets their Sith Gyropods down. It's possible one of the players shuts out the other economy-wise, and, you know, the expensive Seth Gyropod doesn't come out. But that said, you know, between the two of them, I think I like the Buggy a lot. The fact that there's no tank from Paplagon means the Buggy's going to be a lot better. But also, at the same time, it's kind of like, why wouldn't you just make bikes?
Yeah, I really agree. I like the Buggy quite a lot. I think that Paplagon's decks usually don't have a great counter to Buggy, and usually he plays a lot of light air, so having that extra Buggy is nice.
Ooh, look at this. So, of course, Paplagon causing a bit of havoc here with this Shade, and the Venom as well. The second ball coming down, he gets onto the pad. Holy cow, the timing on that, amazing.
That insane, he got the volley off and juked and blocked with both the rifle. Oh, it's such a masterful play there. Absolutely god tier by Quasar. It doesn't even take a hit from the Shade. The Shade just completely misfires, and he takes it out. Oh my, he literally killed that Shade for free. What a monster.
That's why when, you know, we get the feeling it feels bad when your Shade is so useless.
Yes, yeah, we've all been there when you make a Shade and your opponent just absolutely demolishes you, and it does nothing. It feels horrendous.
No kidding. Yeah, and the Shade's an important tool here. I mean, he needs it to deal with the tanks. We see the first one coming out here, and what it's going to do, it's going to shut down these bikes very effectively. The Venom, of course, won't be able to deal with it, and a Venom plus a Shade will do a pretty reasonable job, but as we saw there, Taran really knows how to play against it. Ooh, another drill pod coming down for Taran on the middle pad. Doesn't really have any good targets. There's no lasers there for it to defeat. We see the Seth drill pod coming in kind from Paplagon, but bike movement coming out on the bottom pad. The Shades are going to clear it up, but the lasers are there to meet it. And nice blocking with the lasers on the top pad as well. Some excellent dancing from there. And the Flames were able to clear that up. The Venom misfiring against the Scorp. So many things went wrong there for Paplagon. And, well, Taran takes advantage of it, winning that game. Very well done. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Surplus Quasar. Diamond League versus Gold League. Yikes.
I mean, Gold League's taking it for sure, right? Because Gold League is where it's at. And, well, speaking of that, let's take a look at these decks. So, for this matchup, Surplus has brought Giga, and he's brought the pretty standard Giga list, I would say, with running Chuggy and Phantom. Taran here has brought, again, the same deck that we've seen before, except a key difference here is, of course, Razorback Mohawk instead of, say, Drone Swarm and Mohawk, or Drone Swarm and Orca. So, a little bit different there. It is still a little bit expensive in terms of getting to the Ion Cannon reliably. On this map, Ion Cannon's not bad. Of course, you do have better area denial with the pads connected together, so there is that potential, but overall, I mean, again, we've seen this before where, you know, one player brings Giga, one player brings Solomon, and really that's about your only out, because the Mohawk, well, I guess the important difference there is it will survive a shot from the Phantom, so hard to say. I think there are outs on both sides, but I feel like Surplus has a bit of an advantage overall. Okay, here we go. So, we see Chuggy doing a little bit of a dance here. It's trying to get into the position, but those boosted lasers get absolutely shreked by the oncoming shocks. The Chuggy here will last a long time against the Pitbull. The Pitbull doesn't clear it that quickly, but these lasers and that Militant are going to be a bit of a pop cap problem here for Surplus. He needs to replace them, but they're not going down very quickly. As we see here, they're all kind of causing a bit of an issue here for Surplus. He needs to replenish them, but isn't able to do that. So now, this lone laser and lone Militant might go down pretty quickly, might get a block here from the shocks, and that is the case, and that is going to be missile number one for Taran.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, it's surprising, right? Surface has got the Giga Cannon on this map, and he's playing the Phantom, which is usually the correct choice with the Giga Cannon, but of course that Mihawk means that he would be slightly better off with a stealth tank instead.
Yes, true. But often
now, I don't know if this Giga Cannon can take over the game, because the problem is, with Razorback to shoot down lasers, Mihawk to shoot down bikes, he needs to get to a point where he has Giga Cannon supported by bikes and lasers and Phantom. He needs so many tools. Terran's deck has just ended up being a real problem for Quasar, for Surface here.
Yeah, look at this. I mean, the Phantom here, as I was talking about, is going to be a bit of an issue because it doesn't one-shot the Mihawk. It does one-shot the Razorback, so it does have a way going through that. But the Mihawks, they are very good. They're effective against the bikes, which is kind of what the Predator tank does well for GDI. So Mihawk shares that, which, again, it could be a big problem here for Surface.
Yeah, and Quasar, like, he's keeping the pressure on. This Phantom is such a big deal. If Surface can Phantom and get the Giga out, then he's in such good shape. Once he has Phantom protection for his Giga, I don't think Taran can come back. But this Phantom's about to fall, and then he needs a fresh Phantom. He still hasn't got the Giga. I don't know if Surface can get there before the game is over.
Oh, that was close. He moved that Phantom in, but of course the Pitbull was in a good enough spot to snipe it, and snipe it did. So this Razorback lives just a little bit longer, getting some good value against these lasers, but he needs to get onto these pads, and the double Pitbull here might be enough. Ion Cannon coming down as well. Is it going to clear up the Chucky and the lasers? But no, very, very close there, and it looks like these left behind lasers will be enough to hold on. As we see here, Surface really fighting for his life. He doesn't want to drop this game at all. So he pulls the bike up onto the top left. He really needs to recycle this laser, so he does that, getting into position, but this boosted Chuggy, nice play there. The Mihawk there is going to have a bit of a tough time clearing it in time before the shocks go down. So now these double lasers here coming in from behind, chewing up these dogs, and those bikes, they do have enough to clear up that Mihawk, so it goes down. And now with the Chuggy in place, this isn't looking too great. The shock troopers just can't get into the spot there where they want to deal with the lasers. That said, he does get onto the left pad, and he's instead fighting the lasers, so I think that's going to be a missile for Taran. Oh, there it is! Taran coming out on top, winning missile number 2 and the first game.
Wow, a really uncharacteristic misplay from Surface there. He let the shocks onto the left, and it looked like he was letting them on so he could send the Chuggy over to clear them, but then he just didn't, and the Chuggy stayed middle, and then he lost the game.
Yep.
And you gotta think that's so unusual to see Surface actually making like a real mistake. Like, you basically never see him making just genuine mistakes like that, but there's no way he wanted to let the shocks on and not kill them right away.
Let me remind you, Blade. A lot of people are watching. A lot of pressure. Again.
That's true.
It's only a cold-blooded killer can just grind through all these games with absolute precision.
I think Surface is a cold-blooded killer. I really do.
I would say so.
Well,
So yeah, let's go into game number 2. It means Taran can continue playing the same faction with no cost. He did play GDI last time, I believe. He had the Mihawk. Yeah, so he's going for Nod now. Very interested to see what people bring on this map. A lot of options here, a lot of options. It is going to be Giga Cannon and Surface bringing the Razorback, so kind of a little flipperino of the roles here.
Right? Yeah, I mean, the Giga Cannon here is going to be so good. I guess the difference for Surface, he's got the Razorback to potentially chew up the lasers, but I mean, the Giga Cannon's surrounded by a bunch of bikes. I just don't see how he loses that.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. The map is quite good for Giga. A Giga underneath the right-hand rock will cover top and bottom pad completely, which is obviously huge. That's what you want. Ideally, you want your 2-range unit to also be a pad holder whilst he's covering 2 pads.
Right.
But it's not critical. As long as it can cover 2 pads, that's really the important thing. Surface, of course, has that Razorback, which is going to be very good until Taran can get a Phantom. Taran here not committing at all to a War Factory. I like this. We might see the instant Phantom here.
Unit ready.
We might, yeah. Look at this. So Surface here tech switch into Razorback, but Taran holding back. He hasn't spent his money yet. He's got 200 Tib, and so he's decided to tech switch right into Phantom, which is going to be a big problem here. Of course, it does one-shot that Razorback, which is a big deal. But that said, look at the positioning on those missile troopers, stopping the Phantom from getting at the Razorback, getting a little bit more value against him. And look at that micro! Absolutely crazy micro here we're seeing from Taran, abusing that front Raider, making sure that it's getting shots up. But look at this! Man, how often do you get to see that kind of stuff take place? Only here at the World Championships, and that gives Taran this is number one.
What the hell? What was happening with that Phantom? I mean, it seems it wasn't behaving naturally, moving like that.
The funny thing here is that this is actually a Surface trick. Like, Surface is the first guy I saw doing this. He does it consistently. Surface is getting wrecked by giving up his tech because Quasar's just copying him.
Freaking Phantom! What the hell is fucking happening with that freaking Phantom, man?
That's something you don't see very often where Phantom, it's almost like it has Raider, right? Like it has front Raider, but not, it has to be facing forward. And that's kind of what he's doing, right? Like he's constantly spamming the Phantom to shoot forward against the Razorback. And that's how that happens. And you know what? That's just some sweaty micro there that we're seeing from Taran. And something that's just a good example of what makes him one of the best players in the game. And even though we see Surface getting that Harvester kill, that said, Taran has so much money. I mean, he might just benefit from the pop cap.
He doesn't care. I think he doesn't care.
I don't think he rebuilds the half. I think he's just happy for the pop cap here.
Oh, and the bikes coming in from behind, clearing up that hammerhead. The Phantom survives, a huge deal, because of course the Phantom's going to be able to continually shut down these Razorbacks, getting another volley up against almost another one. But of course that just pulled Surface's Razorback back, and now the bikes are in a good position to be able to clear that as well. But no, there's just no way here. He got another Phantom coming in from behind, and that's game. Wow.
Wow.
Wow. That is both faction victories for Taran. So he can play whatever he wants from here on out. And now it's a reverse sweep situation for Surface. For sure, right? I mean, I don't think either of them saw that coming. And you know what? If I'm Quasar or Surface going up against Hawkinator, I know he's a good player. I don't think I would have expected how good he actually is, though. I mean, the guy's amazing. And you kind of called it at the beginning of the tournament, saying that he's like a new Agent Shadow. And I have to agree. Having seen this gameplay from him, he's really come a long ways in his gameplay. Because yeah, I don't think I've seen Hawkinator that much in tournaments before. And even if I have, he's definitely never made it this far. So really just shows off how much better he's improved in the game, and makes it for a really exciting tournament all the same.
All right, and we're ready for match point. If Quasar wins this one, he is confirmed Big Dick into the finals, the grand finals. Taran versus Surface. Surface falling back. He's got the Phantom again, but it is Inferno Chuggy. Taran going for Buggy Scorp Phantom Inferno. Buggy Scorp is the absolute nuts first missile against Surface's deck. So I strongly believe Taran will win first missile, and then it actually just becomes he doesn't even have a downside because he has the tank, he has the Inferno mirror match. So I gotta say I think Taran's favored here. Like it just the only difference is, well, Surface has bikes. Bike spam is amazing. In fact, now that I think about it, Surface is favored. Sorry, Taran's favored first missile because tank will win. Tank Buggy will win. Yeah. But then, once the Infernos start coming out, Taran can bike spam them and Surface can bike spam them, Taran can't. And that's a big deal.
We see this Chuggy trying to get in the way of the tank, but nice retargeting from Taran to make sure he does snipe that Chuggy, as it took 2 shots there, 1 more and it goes down, but we does need this Buggy coming up from behind. It will be able to clear up the lasers and the militants, and nice positioning as well. Surface couldn't get the militants in the way of the Buggy, so Buggy does manage to get on the pad, and the militants coming in from behind do as well, although, just about a slight misplay there. We got the boost and lasers though, but nice blocking with the lasers. He was going to send them down to the bottom pad, but that is going to be enough to allow that Chuggy to gain enough value, and the lasers as well, so that goes missile number 1 for Surface.
Huge plays by Surface there. I think he's heavily unfavored on that first missile, but he manages to engineer a way for that tank to not be valuable. And taking first missile here for Surface is huge, man. Like, this is so good for him, because I really think that when we get to the Inferno stage of the game, the bikes are going to be much better than the buggies.
to agree with you. Well, the bikes are a lot cheaper. 3 of them will take down an Inferno, and you're still up ahead at that point. And bikes are just good. So having the bikes around isn't such a bad thing. And yeah, I agree with you. Taran won that first missile. He has a bit of an advantage, but having not gotten that first missile, looking pretty tough here. But that said, I mean, as soon as the Phantoms start coming out, I mean, that's really where the game's going to start to pivot, I think.
Yeah, once Serpus gets Infernos, I mean, like, really Quasar should be winning at the moment, but he isn't even managing to win the buggy score. Like, Serpus is just beasting him, and Serpus, Terran's the first to have to go Inferno. Wow, this is bad news bears for Taran. He is in trouble here.
Oh boy, the Inferno makes it onto the pad, shooting the lone squad of lasers. Very good choice, of course. He does need to allow that Inferno to gain a lot of value. But look at that. That single laser squad actually getting a few shots off. And he does get the boost on the Inferno, getting another shot off against the lasers. So he does need to stop the bikes. But the bikes manage to get in underneath. And it looks like, but hold on a minute, Surface driving them around a little bit too much. Doesn't get the shot off and also doesn't clear the Inferno. So Inferno gains a little bit more value. But that said, all he needs to do is dance his life out. And that middle pad is secured as well as the second missile.
I don't even know what just happened. Like, I don't know how Serpus won that so comfortably. Like, well, comfortably maybe isn't the word. When that Inferno came out, it was looking pretty dire. But Buggy Scorp normally beats up on that deck super hard in the first missile, and Serpus just managed to outmaneuver him. He made the tank not relevant, and then he just did it again in the second missile. Serpus does not want to go down here. He does not want to lose his 3-0. He doesn't want that hit to his reputation. He doesn't want to be known as the guy who came third in the World Championship. He wants first, and he is not willing to give up on this match yet.
For that, you know.
All right, so we're ready to go. Game number 4. Serpus does need the full reverse sweep if he's going to get back into this. He is playing Nod again. Doesn't want to touch that GDI nonsense. Wants to take this to 5 game at least.
And to bring it to that, he's brought Inferno once again, the Phantom variant, which, you know, I gotta say, in this particular scenario, I guess because the Phantom doesn't get destroyed by the Predator tank like the Stealth tank would, perhaps it's a good choice for that, but the Hammerhead seems like a pretty reasonable choice, especially with Pitbulls to support.
Yeah, Quasar, a little surprised. He can play wherever he wants. I'm just a little surprised he's gone for GDI. I guess he just thinks that snipers are going to be really good here. He does actually have a similar deck to the one that Serpus brought to beat Huck. He's going for that tank in the early game into the Hammerhead. So I think that it's a reasonable deck. I don't know how I feel about the snipers over the shocks. I feel like shocks are just much more solid. Still gets the job done, but we'll have to wait and see how it goes.
The snipers come out, we get supported by the dogs, and these lasers here are having a bad time as they're getting absolutely wrecked by them. So now with Taran pulling the Pitbull from behind, we see we're coming down to missile number 1. Pretty close here, but it's really just a matter of time here before Taran turns this around, because, of course, the snipers are going to clean up the lasers. We got double Pitbull against the bikes, and, well, they're in positioning, so those bikes aren't going to get on the pad, and that's going to be missile number 1 for Taran.
Yeah, and Taran looking very strong here. Not super surprised to see missile number 1 for him. I think this is a pretty great matchup for him on first missile. Serpus is going to definitely need to be leaning on Infernos in this game. And again, this is another matchup where that Stealth tank will be so much better than that Phantom. Because he's going up against the Hammerhead. If you can just one-shot the Hammerhead, that really shuts it down.
Speaking of shutting it down, we got the Inferno coming out, getting his first shot off against the Pitbull. Of course, Taran here is going to make sure he tries to protect those snipers as much as he can. And one big problem here are those flame hexes. Of course, the snipers lose a bit of their positioning as a result. So now another shot from the Inferno comes down, only taking down an under half hit point Pitbull. Kind of underwhelming at this point. So Taran seeing an opportunity here, boosts that Pitbull, chasing that Inferno away, and all it needs is one shot. It is fully reloaded, so he might be able to snipe it, but actually, those lasers from behind nearly took it out. That said, though, he's got that far right pad, and the bikes get on in the middle, but double Pitbull coming in from behind. Does need to block with the sniper, so he moves them down. Very good positioning there as well. The sniper's going to last all day long, but one missed block deserves another, I suppose, as it allows the bikes on, but it wasn't going to be enough. And there it is, Taran with 2 missiles in a row, completing the victory, giving him 3-1 in this series.
And enjoy the process. Let's go!
Let's go.
Indeed.
Game 1, grand final. Taran taking on Hawkinator. We do see both players playing the faction that does not have a banned unit, so that makes sense. Huck going with his classic Inferno Phantom Chuggy. Taran has gone for the Sniper Tank Hammerhead. This has been a very common counter deck to the Inferno Chuggy. People are just bringing tank plus heavy anti-air. Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense.
It does, yeah. Well, the Predator tank shuts down the Chuggy, and that's a big problem for Hawkinator, of course. That's part of the reason that Inferno deck works so well, is because Bike and Chuggy are just so efficient that they manage to win most games against most decks. But in this particular instance, Predator tank breaks that up, and it does a really good job of doing it. So I really like Taran's choice here.
Yeah, I like it as well. It's a good targeted deck against what Huck is known to play. So yeah, it's a good shout. I also, like, Quasar has way more experience of ban format. I don't think Huck's ever played a ban format. Quasar, I think, has played 2 now, maybe even 3. So it's going to be interesting to see how, as we get deeper into the bans, can Huck adapt to having less unit access? Does he have that weight of knowledge, like the depth of knowledge to play many decks? Or is he just very skilled with a couple of decks? If Quasar knocks out his 2 main decks, is Huck still going to be able to play? That's the question.
Look at this gameplay here from Taran, pushing back those bikes to great effect, and this Kenbug, a really important tool for him, really just isn't going to be able to get the job done. That said, though, he is being able to get some good damage against those missiles, so he's going to clear that up. But Taran coming in hot with that boosted Pitbull, really good play there as he managed to block the Kenbuggy from getting onto that left pad, which was very important because if he had, he would have begun to charge the missile in his favor. So really good play there. But that said, now we see bikes coming out in numbers. He's going to get onto that far right pad. One volley won't be enough, I believe. Actually, it was. So the Pitbull does go down. And we see here he's going to block the dogs with that single bike there, so using that to good effect. But that said, again, it's just going really far back and forth here. The boosted missiles get onto that far right pad. Very unfortunate miss block there from Hawkinator. And that's going to be missile number 1 here for Taran.
Yeah, and the dogs there actually clean up that last remaining super low hit point bike. Both players just really trying to engineer a situation where they can get value out of lasers and missiles. But the snipers and the Chuggy really shutting that down, and eventually Taran is the one who comes out slightly ahead on that one.
Geez, maybe Hawkinator should have banned snipers, eh?
That's funny.
Oh, well, geez, look at this. I mean, yeah, the problem here, like, this is what Taran's been doing throughout this entire tournament, which is Pitbull Sniper. And the thing about snipers, they're very difficult to play, but if you play them well enough, they just continually shut down lasers, and that's really what's happening here. And it's been an important tool because, of course, against Kenbuggy, with that 2 range, you can set a unit in front of it and manage to still clear out those missiles without taking return fire. So it's been working out very well for him. Oh, the double shot,
snipers
though!
get caught in the double bomb.
Ooh,
and Quasar decides to go Pitbull.
Snipers are always so good.
Right? They got absolutely smashed. Speaking of that, another shot from the Inferno comes out, clearing up that Pitbull, leaving 2 fire hexes up on that top pad. So here we are coming into missile number 2, and Hawkinator needs to find a way back on the
Hammerhead. This is huge. Can this Hammerhead clean up both the Infernos?
Oh! So
no,
close.
it doesn't.
That bottom pad, then all 3 pads are taken. Can he block the Hammerhead? Oh! Not ever close. Hawkinator wins it just by a hair. You'll love to see it.
That Hammerhead just was not quite. It wasn't quite early enough. It didn't have time to clean up both the Infernos like he wanted. And this leaves Quasar in a tough spot because these Infernos are doing absolute work. He's just getting destroyed by the Infernos.
Yeah, that double shot really set things off. As you saw, he lost so much value, and these snipers cost 50. They are so expensive. So Taran, he's got to be really careful here. And we see that second Inferno goes down, but a third one is just right behind it. Now that Phantom chasing the Hammerhead does get its full volley off, but the Hammerhead will live after that, so could continue to be a problem. But, well, here we are coming into missile
and here comes
3.
the Inferno doesn't get the double bomb.
Oh, hold on a minute. All 3 pads taking up the Hammerhead with really low hit points, so it does get onto the far right pad, but the blocks with the bikes on the bottom against the snipers. The plays. Hawkinator coming in with that first victory, going up 2-0. Amazing. Of course, we got Hawkinator up 2 games. He does have that first victory just from the fact that he was in the winner's bracket. So not match point just yet, but, you know, after this game, it could be. So let's take a look.
All right, so what do we see? It's going to be... He has just replaced the snipers with shocks. Although he used to have Pitbull, and now he has Predator. There's also a Borka. This deck looks pretty different. We're also seeing Liang.
It's very different. No Pitbull.
Yeah, this is quite a big difference for Hawkinator. Taran going for classic Chuggy Inferno. He only has Scorpion tank bans. This is a pretty comfortable deck for him to bring out. He's also, I think he's in okay shape. It depends whether or not these slingshots kill off Infernos, because the tank is pretty good first missile for Huck, but then the Inferno is going to shut it down unless the slingshot ends up being dominant.
Well, and the other problem here, he's got Liang instead of Jackson, so he can't boost the slingshot if he does manage to get an Inferno in range of it. And the Liang drone won't heal a dead slingshot, right? Like, the slingshot will get one shot by the Inferno, so I'm not so sure how this is going to work out. But, well, here we are coming down to missile number 1, and we see Taran making a push onto the middle pad. Does get there with the chem buggy. Predator tank, though, does get onto the far right, but it's not going to be quick enough to deal with the bike. So that goes missile number 1 for Taran. And, wow, we see a double harp coming out.
There it is. Predator just too slow, man. Predator just too slow once again.
Yeah.
Oh, and
really
double
was.
harp from Taran. For the first time on feature in tournament, we're seeing 2 harvesters. Was this a misclick, or is he planning to go Inferno spam? I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Well, he's not dumping it onto a pad, so I have to think this is somewhat intentional. But I agree, a little bit unusual.
If you accidentally build a second harvester, you try and get your money back from it before you put it on a pad. So it's normal if he accidentally built it to still put it on the tib for a while. It's not looking good for Quasar though. He's barely got that first Inferno out. Harvester went down. Bombs a rubbish missile squad. I think he's done for here. I think Hawkinator goes up another game.
Oh, it's so close.
Wow.
The shocks nearly went down on the top left pad. And of course, the slingshot there does do an okay job against the Inferno, but you see what happened there. I mean, the Inferno one-shots it, but that shock trooper MVP so far, bringing Hawkinator back in.
Second harvester is rebuilt, confirming for sure that it was intentional to go 2 harvesters. He definitely wants to spam Infernos in this game.
Which, against slingshots, I mean, if you shut that down completely, Hawkinator has no other way to beat these Infernos. He does have missiles, but, I mean, the missiles just aren't going to get it done. And look at this, so Sweaty blocking there, pushing the Predator into the hex of where the Inferno would go, making sure the slingshot can continually get fires off on it. Real nice stuff.
Oh, and then he gets triple killed.
Triple shot. Oh, Hawkinator, my man. What was that?
Oh my god, like perfect play into lineup triple shot, which Quasar didn't even move his unit to do. It just happened.
And then on top of that, the Inferno, the double hex is just doing a lot of damage here. But hold on a moment. We see a little bit of a turnaround here. We got that slingshot coming out, getting it on the far left pad. He just needs to get it on this bottom pad as well. But the Inferno is going to reload here, taking out the shocks to start with. Of course, that chem buggy could be continually a problem. And, well, there it is. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. What a close game.
Wow. Quasar needed that. Quasar needed that one. Sorry, game number 3. Game number 3, Hawkinator had a win. Still seeing Nod.
Oh, wow, interesting. I wonder what Taran's playing here. Giga Cannon without bikes? I guess, sure. I mean, you got Stealth Tank to potentially fill that role. But, yeah, no bikes could be a big feels bad. Hawkinator he is playing Score Flame, which, you know, Score Flame is a bit weak to Giga here, so maybe all he needs is just Giga Laser. All right, so initial engagement here. Hawkinator winning that with the wheels. Wheels, of course, the perfect counter to Militants here, and that's forcing Taran over back into lasers, which means we are going to see flames come out. So flames now moving out here for Hawkinator. He's going to try and flip that over, but that just means that Taran here is going to move into Juggy.
Yeah, Hawkinator can still play Quad War Factory, so he still has a good deck here. Taran, though, has brought Giga, which is just the absolute best deck you can play against Quad War Factory. He's even playing Chuggy Giga. I really like Quasar should be heavily favored here. Hawkinator with those early flames takes first missile, but there is a Giga out now, and I don't know how Huck deals with it. Quad War Factory is just so difficult to beat Giga Cannon. Oh, here comes the sneaky stealth tank. I really hope this is going after the Giga Cannon. Yes, he even cycled it round the back, away from the vision. Excellent snipe! Good job, Huck. Man. Really nicely played with the stealth tank there. If you saw how he did it, he moved it all the way to the top of the map as well, so that a 2-vision unit would not see it coming around. Or even I think a 3-vision unit wouldn't see it.
Wow, look at this Giga, though, getting some real work done. The second one does go down. Again, that really smart play from Hawkinator to sneak the Stealth Tank around. Stealth Tank living up to its name, you know, you'll have to see that.
Yeah.
And really, this is actually putting a bit of a wrench in Taran's game plan. I mean, we're inching towards missile number 2. That Chuggy, of course, doing a pretty good job against the Flame Troopers, but now a tank coming in from behind, and as long as Hawkinator can maintain his map positioning here, the Giga Cannon may not be able to push in time, and we see another Chem Buggy coming out. Again, the Scorpion tank here being a perfect tool. We got the Flames on the back pad as well. Nice blocking with the tank, and that's it. There it is. Win number 3 for Hawkinator, and we are moving on to match point.
That is, I mean, Hawk should never win that matchup. He just played fantastic. Like, he just played great.
Yeah.
He played so well.
He did.
The sneaky stealth tank into the second Giga pressure with the double laser and stealth tank from the top. So good, man. So good. Like, he just played that game really well. I think Quasar's going to be feeling pretty sad after that, because like he just straight up got outplayed here. He just did. Like, that was a beating. He shouldn't ever really be like. That's a tough matchup. That's a really tough matchup for Hawk, and he found a way.
Let's get in it.
Let's go.
All right, match point coming up, folks. This is what you're all here for.
I think maybe it's what I predicted. We see here, oh, he's gone APC. Interesting. So he didn't just choose to bring Predator. I don't know if I like this. Huck has brought the same deck, which makes sense because it's Orbit, and Quasar's brought a deck that sucks versus it. APC is bad versus Scorpion, and Mohawk is terrible versus Stealth Tank. I think Taran might have misidentified what Huck was going to do here, and he's in a lot of trouble right now. He's a bad matchup for this map.
Yeah, Hawkinator's got a good deck, right? Scorpions with their faster movement speed work really well on a map like this, because just to get around, and I guess one disadvantage, the fact that you don't want to pair your Flames up with the Scorp, but the Stealth Tank. The Stealth Tank is going to be such an important tool for Hawkinator to break up those Mohawks. And then the APCs, I mean, they're normally very good, as we've seen in this tournament, but it's in specific matchups, and this is not one of them where they're good.
Yeah, and of course, Huck with the Huck banned bikes from Quasar, right? That's why Quasar didn't want to bring Nod. I feel like maybe exactly Quasar's missing a trick by not banning bikes. They're just so good, man. Not allowing your opponent to have bikes is scary.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see here, I mean, Taran having to focus on GDI, and it's working out okay for him so far. Like, drone swarms do a pretty good job, but look at that. I mean, the bikes doubled up there, completely cleared them out, and this Mohawk here getting some reasonable value, but again, he's having to split his forces up considerably, so these bikes are just getting tons of value, and now having to rely heavily on these drone swarms to clear up the Flames. The bikes coming in from behind with their fastest movement speed are just causing a lot of problems. And here, coming down to missile number 1, we got the Mohawk going up onto the top pad, but the Stealth Tank is about to see it, and you know what? That Stealth Tank's not going to have a good day when that happens, but double Mohawk, well, that might be a different story, as of course it takes a bit of time for it to reload, but really nice positioning with that Stealth Tank, putting it on the back X of that top pad, meant the Mohawk wasn't going to get onto the pad right away, and Taran loses missile number 1 as a result.
Yeah, and I'm not really that surprised. I think the Nod deck is just so vastly superior on this map. I just don't know what Taran does here. He doesn't have the Orca. He can't do Orca drone. The Mohawk is so bad against the Stealth Tank. APC is not good against the Scorpion. I just don't know, man. I don't know what he's supposed to do here.
Like, Orca would have helped him out a lot more than what he's got right now. At least he had an option out to the Stealth Tank, because the Mohawk is just falling flat here, as we see, the Stealth Tank's really cleaning things up, and the drone swarms are a pesky tool against Nod, but they're only pesky. They're not a huge threat, because these Flames, they have enough health that the DPS from the drone swarm just isn't high enough to really contest them greatly. And the Stealth Tank, look at that. I mean, getting another boost on it here. He's going to go down to the bottom of the map here, probably shoot at the Pitbull, I would guess. Yeah, so cleaning up that Pitbull's really good, and now another Stealth Tank coming in from behind, because Hawkinator just has all the money in the world. But here we go, potentially going to take it all for this money here.
So
Can
flat
he do
against
it?
The Stealth Tanks.
Oh,
I think this might be it. We might be seeing the world champion crowned.
There it is.
Wow.
Yep. There she is, folks. Hawkinator, your world champion for the 2022 World Champs. Who saw this coming, huh? Taran falling
4-1.
Amazing. Amazing gameplay.
Let's go.
4-1. Hawkinator just dominated everybody today.
Amazing. Really, like, really hands down, just incredible. And at the end of the day, the best player won, and that happened to be Hawkinator today. He is your winner for the World Champs, and wow, he had some stiff competition. He had to beat Taran twice.
Cold-blooded. He just chewed through his opponents without any remorse. You know?
He really did. Absolutely.
Oh, really?
We might, we're gonna have a little plug for Alliance Wars, of course, another Legion run event. Alliance Wars has been a lot of fun. Of course, it is when Alliances get teams of up to, like 1 billion players, something like 10 maximum. The Alliance Wars grand finale is going to be very soon. I believe we only have about 2 matches left in Alliance Wars.
That's right.
So that was going to be streamed probably by myself or Entsorger. And then the Rivals game show, which the hotly anticipated, which Kenny has been talking about for about 3 years.
Yes.
Supposedly is going to happen in December. So dead game, not so dead. Lots of events coming up. Lots still going on. Congratulations to Huck, world champion. Amazing. I don't know if there's really anything else for us to say.
Thank you.
I think that's about it.
To everyone who made this happen. I had a great time, really enjoyed, and hope you enjoy it too. And we will prove that this
the
game,
Rivals today was
Rivals.
excellent.
Rivals game is not dead. Especially the community. Even if the game is gonna be dead, the community will never be dead. That's why it's the most, it's priceless. Us being together, friends, and even if the game dies, we will go to other green pastures, you know, but we will be together as a one unit and good people, and everything, even something, when something bad happens, it's to the good, as we Russians are saying. No matter what happens, it always is gonna be better later. So it's all gonna be good. This game is not gonna die because we're still here. And Giza will always report.
Alright, well, thank you very much, everyone. One last plug for Legion itself. If you enjoyed the tournament or any Legion events, such as Alliance Wars, these tournaments, all the other things we've been doing, that Buy Me a Coffee link, that money directly supports future events. So if you like these, feel free to hit us up with some cash monies so that we can run more of them. And thank you, everyone who made this possible. And with that, it's gonna be goodbye from me and goodbye from Jeffrey and Gazarius.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for stopping by.